Chapter 48:24. Other forces may have seen the former Emperor of God, or perhaps have a portrait of the former Emperor of God. So for Miss Qing Luo's safety, Feng family head decided to let me help you disguise, in case of other accidents. Yi Qing Luo thought for a while and understood her grandfather's concerns. If the other forces in the God realm knew that she was the daughter of the former Emperor of God, the entire God realm would not be peaceful. Perhaps everyone would have to guess. This God realm was about to have a change of ownership, especially if she met any ambitious forces, if they wanted to take this opportunity to achieve a certain purpose. She was afraid that Yi Qing Luo would be in danger. After thinking about it, Yi Qing Luo also agreed to Ji Wuhua's request. Ji Wuhua looked at the young girl and thought for a long time before reluctantly agreeing to disguise. Miss Qing Luo, you have to know that the people who want to find me, Ji Wuhua, can go one round around the God realm. You should be laughing secretly now. Why should I laugh secretly? Can't I laugh openly? Yi Qing Luo curved her pink lips and raised her eyebrows at him. Ji Wuhua said, "Okay, you're a member of the Feng family. You are right. It was really difficult to flirt with this Miss Feng. Originally, he just wanted to prove that his charm was not affected. But the more he flirted, the more he doubted his charm. Can't he shut up?" Ji Wuhua directly took out the tools and began to toss Yi Qing Luo's face up and down. After this toss, just like that, it took 4 hours. Yi Qing Luo couldn't bear it and fell asleep in the middle. When she opened her eyes again, Ji Wuhua was already finishing up the work. The man who was as handsome as a fox lowered his head. His face was no longer that pretentious demeanor and the cheeky look that made people want to hammer him to death. His eyes were full of seriousness and solemnity. Actually, this Ji Wuhua did belong to the type of handsome man. When he was serious, he was not bad. But the man who was serious for no more than 3 seconds, after being stared at by Yi Qing Luo for a while, suddenly he laughed proudly with his hands on his waist. "Miss Qing Luo, now you've finally found out that I am extraordinarily handsome. Have you fallen in love with me?" Yi Qing Luo. Was it too late to take back the compliment? He was simply a peacock. Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes. "Hurry up and do it." Ji Wuhua pushed him towards the bronze mirror. "It's done." Yi Qing Luo looked at the bronze mirror. Her long and narrow eyes were slightly startled. In the bronze mirror, there was an extremely seductive and beautiful young girl. Her porcelain white skin was like jade, and it seemed to emit a jade-like glow. Her pair of charming eyes were curved, and at the end of her eyes, there was even the outline of a gorgeous mandala flower blooming. She had a sharp nose and bright red lips. Her facial features were exquisite. Regardless of whether they were taken apart or gathered together, they were pleasing to the eye. Simply, she looks like a domineering sister. It could be said that this face was completely different from her previous face, but it still vaguely resembled her. This was the same as what she had experienced in the 21st century, one of the 4 great evil arts of Huaxia: the makeup artist, the beauty filter, big eyes, thin face, and so on. But this face made the young girl look even more like an older sister. Her smile and frown made her look extremely flirtatious and flirtatious. "Don't you think it's great?" Ji Wuhua was full of pride. "My disguise skill, if I claim to be number 2 in the God realm, absolutely no one dares to claim to be number 1. He deliberately raised his brows. A look of "adore me, adore me." The end of this chapter. Waste 7th young miss. Overlord, please be gentler. Chapter 48:25. Yi Qing Luo touched her own face. It felt so real, as if it was her own face. Or rather, after Ji Wuhua had disguised her face, there was no feeling on her face at all. It was as if this face was originally her face. This was the art of disguise. It was simply the art of changing one's face. This peacock usually looked very unreliable. At the critical moment, it was quite amazing. Yi Qing Luo rarely praised the peacock. "You are awesome." Ji Wuhua's tail immediately perked up as his devilishly charming phoenix eyes curved. His entire handsome face inched towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. "Now do you know how powerful I am? Are you interested in admiring the moon tonight?" I can accompany you to talk about poetry and life philosophy. Yi-Ching Luo raised her hand and pressed her palm on Ji Wuhua's head, pressing him back. Her pink lips moved slightly and spat out a word. Get lost. Ji Wuhua lowered his head and smacked his lips. Granny Feng's voice came from outside the door. Young miss, the master is urging you. Yi-Ching Luo brushed the light and soft long dress on her as she responded. Then she walked out of the room. Granny Feng was slightly stunned when she saw the enchanting young girl in red clothes and black hair. Her eyes were full of amazement. No wonder you are the Flower King. Your ability of disguise is superb. Of course. Don't you know who I am? Ji Wuhua raised his chin arrogantly. Yi-Ching Luo rolled her eyes at him. It was just a casual compliment. His tail was wagging to the sky. She had no idea how this peacock could become one of the 3 kings in the divine realm. There must be a conspiracy. Yi-Ching Luo cursed in her heart. She suddenly felt warmth under her feet. Xiao Tuanzi hugged her leg and rested his chin on her leg. Looking up at her, fairy sister, Xiao Tuanzi was dressed in a luxurious brocade robe, and his hair was neatly combed. Xiao Tuanzi was so handsome at such a young age that he could attract many girls' hearts. He would definitely be a troublemaker when he grew up. Yi-Ching Luo bent down and picked him up. How did Cece recognize me? With a disguise, he would be able to cling onto her thighs accurately. Feng, she tilted her head. Because fairy sister is the prettiest. What a sweet mouth. Yi-Ching Luo pinched Xiao Tuanzi's chubby cheeks. Let's go, sister will bring you to eat something delicious. The banquet was held in the courtyard of the Feng family. The distance to the main courtyard which Yi-Ching Luo was staying in was separated by a street's distance. The reason why it was set up this way, it was because of the rumors of the Feng family's treasures. Feng family master also didn't want someone to take the opportunity to enter the Feng family's main courtyard and ruin the reunion banquet. Thus, the banquet was directly set up in the courtyard. The minute Yi-Ching Luo left the Feng residence, she saw Feng Zhangqing standing beside a bright horse carriage. The man was dressed in a bamboo green robe embroidered with exquisite bamboo leaves. He looked fresh and elegant, gentle and refined. While he stood there quietly, he was extremely quiet. He did give off the vibe of a young master. He heard footsteps. He immediately raised his head, and when his gaze fell onto Yi-Ching Luo, he gave a warm smile. Miss Ching Luo. Yi-Ching Luo smiled at him. The group boarded the carriage. Then they headed towards the direction of the courtyard. The courtyard was extremely spacious. Feng family master set up the banquet in the garden. Beautiful purple and red flower beds, shady trees. It looked extremely beautiful. In the huge garden, table after table of delicacies were set up. The fragrance of wine and food lingered in the air. Chapter 48:26. The maids of the Feng family wandered around, refilling wine for the guests or running errands for the guests. When Yi-Ching Luo arrived, he could hear the bustling sounds of the courtyard. Cheers, laughter, and congratulations could be heard continuously. It was no different from the banquets in the lower realms. Yi-Ching Luo narrowed her eyes slightly. The status of the Feng family in the divine realm was really not low. Miss Ching Luo. Feng Zhangqing's voice was heard from outside the carriage's curtains. Yi-Ching Luo lifted the curtains. Feng Zhangqing stretched out his hand. For a man, this action was considered normal and gentlemanly. But Yi-Ching Luo didn't stretch out her hand. She just pursed her lips and smiled. He held Feng Shi's hand and jumped out of the carriage nimbly. Feng Zhangqing did not feel embarrassed and withdrew his hand. Outside the door, there were many guests, and it was extremely lively. This was the first time Yi-Ching Luo had seen so many people since she arrived at the God Realm. They had no intention of entering through the main entrance. After all, there were too many guests at the main entrance. Everyone was full of curiosity about the adopted daughter recognized by the acting Shun Wang of the Feng family. Naturally, the main character's appearance had to be grand. Feng Changqing and Ji Wuhua went to park the carriage. Feng Pa led them along another path. Not long after they entered the courtyard, Feng, she had a stomachache, so she dragged Granny Feng to the toilet. Yi-Ching Luo originally wanted to tag along. Feng Shi refused. She put on an aggrieved face, not wanting to embarrass herself in front of her fairy sister. Yiqing Luo could only let him be. Granny Feng asked Yiqing Luo to wait for her while she took Feng Shi to solve the problem. Yiqing Luo found a stone bench and waited for Granny Feng and Feng Shi. However, just as he sat down, someone came looking for trouble. "It's you. Do we see it wrong?" She actually also came to the banquet set by Patriarch Feng. Behind him, there were a few surprised female voices. Then, a few mocking voices could be heard. "Look at her. She doesn't even have a guide. Could it be that she snuck in?" There were quite a few guests in the surroundings, and when they heard the commotion, they all looked over. The gazes of the guests obviously encouraged those women. A group of orioles and swallows immediately walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. One of them stretched out his hand and placed it on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. "Hey, slut." Her words were stuck in her throat when she turned around. The woman did not put her hand on the young girl's shoulder as she wished. Instead, it was held back by a fair hand. "What are you trying to do?" The girl's clear voice revealed a bit of coldness. When he saw the faces of the women in front of him, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but raise her brows. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. These people, wasn't she one of the women from the Flower Peacock's harem that he met in the 100-Flower Garden? His wrist was locked by her. It was the woman who had led the group that day, Hong Mei. She was the woman who claimed that the acting divine emperor was her uncle. He hadn't thought of it before. Now he saw Hong Mei. Yiqing Luo then recalled what Hong Mei said earlier. The acting divine emperor was Feng Liqiong. Hong Mei was calling Feng Liqiong uncle, but Feng Liqiong was her little uncle. Therefore, where did Hong Mei come from? She had never heard that she had a sister. While Yiqing Luo was deep in thought, the group of women in front of her were stunned when they saw the young girl's face. Mistook me for someone else? They were clearly looking over from afar. This red-robed young lady's back view was extremely similar to the young lady whom they met in the 100-Flower Garden some time ago. They thought, here, they met the new love whom her husband doted on so much. Chapter 48:27. Hong may have been tortured badly by the young lady in red that day. She had used a lot of precious herbs and recuperated for several days before she recovered. In addition, after that day's meeting, that young lady in red had disappeared from 100-Flower Gardens. The ladies in 100-Flower Gardens understood their husband's character very well. Meeting that kind of blazing sun type, she could totally arouse the desire of her husband. It was impossible for her husband to send that young lady away in just one day. She must have been kept as a mistress by her husband. The hatred of hurting Hong Mei, the hatred of stealing her husband. It could be said, Yiqing Luo was already the enemy of all the ladies in 100-Flower Gardens. So when they saw such a similar back view, the ladies couldn't suppress the hatred in their hearts and rush forward. But unexpectedly, the young lady in front of them was extremely unfamiliar. This young lady in red was not the young lady they saw in 100-Flower Gardens that day. But when a few ladies lowered their eyes slightly, a glint of jealousy flashed past their eyes unknowingly. This young lady looked too seductive, enchanting and charming eyes. Even women seemed to be captivated by her pair of curved, charming eyes and the wavy corners of her eyes. Jealousy, uneasiness, and alertness started to spread in their hearts. Their husband loved beauties the most. The beauty of this young lady in front of them had already surpassed all the beauties they had ever seen. No, it was even called charm. Their women's intuition told them this young lady absolutely could not be left alive. If their husbands saw her, they were afraid. No one in 100-Flower Gardens could compete with her. Let go. Hong Mei stared at the young lady's coquettish face as she gritted her teeth and spat out 2 words. She thought that she had taken good care of her body. Her skin was fair and soft and could be called a beauty. But when the young lady's hand clasped her hand and lifted it slightly, the young lady's slender and long hand seemed to emit a jade-like glow, which made her hand look like an old man's hand. Enchanting and charming, smooth skin and jade-like bones. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as she gave a mocking smile. Apologize. Hong Mei's eyes widened instantly. Do you know who I am? You dare to ask me to apologize? Yi Qing Luo's slender fingers exerted more strength. He could vaguely hear the cracking of the bones in the woman's wrist. She still smiled sweetly. No matter who you are, you still have to apologize. She looked at Hong Mei's pained expression and her sinister facial features. Her smile became even wider. I'm just sitting here, but you guys don't give me a chance to talk. Not only did you insult me, but you also hit me. Pausing for a moment, the girl's charming eyes narrowed, revealing a bit of sharpness. Is this the upbringing of your great family? This is the Phoenix Manor's territory. You're not allowed to behave atrociously here. Apologize. One sentence after another, clear and bone-piercing words spat out from her pink lips. When he said the last two words, the endless chill seemed to have melted into the air. Hong Mei's heart skipped a beat. Although the young woman before him was not the red-clad young woman he met in the 100-flower garden a few days ago, she was still a young woman. But at the same time, it was also arrogant and disgusting. Behind him, there was a group of girls watching. Hong Mei would never admit defeat. Otherwise, wouldn't her prestige in the 100-flower garden be swept away? Her eyes were filled with murderous intent as she endured the intense pain from her wrist. The other hand was raised up as it slammed down towards Yi Qing Luo's face, carrying a majestic, profound qi. It seemed as though it was going to destroy the young lady's face. Yi Qing Luo, on the other hand, released her wrist as her figure abruptly retreated 2 steps. Chapter 48:28. Yi Qing Luo loosened her grip. The girls behind her immediately went forward to support Hong Mei. Sister Hong Mei, are you all right? A group of people crowded forward with concern. Hong Mei's face was steely green as she stared coldly at Yi Qing Luo. The hatred in her eyes, as though it was going to drown Yi Qing Luo. She stared at Yi Qing Luo furiously as her meticulously made-up face was slightly distorted. You slut! Do you know who I am? I don't care who you are. Yi Qing Luo replied very straightforwardly as her narrow eyes were frivolous with a hint of ridicule. I say, young lady, how old are you this year? What do you mean? Hong Mei felt that she was being ridiculed. Yi Qing Luo indifferently sized her up. I think young ladies should be at least 30 years old. Why are you acting like a 3-year-old child? You can't win. So you want to sue your family to get them to back you up? Her words paused slightly as she seemed to have thought of something. Oh, right. Nowadays, a 3-year-old child wouldn't bring out their family's name for a small matter. She covered her lips as she laughed softly. A lively young lady with overflowing charm. Between this smile and frown, even a lady had no choice but to admit her charm and charm. Hong Mei finally understood that the young lady in front of her was ridiculing her. Her expression turned from steely green to extremely ugly. Her jade-like fingers clenched tightly. What, 30 years old? She was merely in her 20s. A lady's biggest taboo was to be called old, especially by a young lady who was younger and prettier than herself. Moreover, other than ridiculing her for looking old, there was also the second half of the sentence. This was simply an insult to her. First, it was ridiculing her for being old. The next moment, it was ridiculing that she wasn't even comparable to a 3-year-old child. Hong Mei's face flushed a deep red. She was angry and annoyed. She couldn't wait to crush the young lady in front of her into pieces. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as her charming eyes sparkled. Why? Am I not speaking the truth? She slowly inched forward by a few inches. This movement, it shocked Hong Mei as she subconsciously took 2 steps back. He seemed to have an indescribable fear towards the young girl in front of him. Yi Qing Luo curved her pink lips and looked at Hong Mei's action with some ridicule. Those who can come to the Feng family's banquet are either rich or noble. I didn't expect Godrealm's noble daughter to have such an image. She scoffed and said in a mocking tone, how disappointing. The few ladies didn't understand the deep meaning behind the 2 words Godrealm that Yi Qing Luo mentioned. He only noticed the other meaning of this sentence. This young girl had never seen a noble daughter before. This also meant that this girl was not a member of the nobility. Then she was just a commoner. With this understanding, the gazes which the few ladies shot towards Yi Qing Luo were filled with despise. In the immortal world, It was different from those in the lower realm, where the strong ruled and the fist was supreme. The people of the god realm attached great importance to bloodline. They also attached great importance to the division of ranks between races. To the royal family or the nobles, the peace nation, they were inferior existences. The royals and nobles looked down on the people of the plebs. Facing the peaceful people, the nobles had an innate sense of superiority. You're right, this is the Feng family's banquet. Among the chatter, a lady spoke up. Those who come are either rich or noble, then. May I ask, which family's daughter are you? Why have we never seen you before? This group of ladies were the daughters of various large aristocratic families. They wandered in the aristocratic circle all year round. Chapter 48:29. Naturally, he knew all of the young ladies and young masters of the various nobles. They were certain. This was the first time they met this young lady. Very unfamiliar. Another lady took out an invitation card and waved it in front of Yiqing Luo. Those who accept the invitation from the Feng family's banquet will have an invitation card. I wonder, Miss, do you have an invitation card? When the lady asked this, her tone suddenly raised. Apparently, she wanted to attract everyone's attention. The deeper meaning of the lady's words was much more interesting. Yiqing Luo didn't have an invitation card, which meant that she had snuck in through some shameful means. As for the purpose of sneaking in a beautiful and enchanting young lady, sneaking into a banquet full of nobles, what purpose could there be? Wasn't the same thing? Instantly, the surrounding guests and the few ladies in front of her all looked at Yiqing Luo with a gaze filled with ridicule and deep meaning, facing all kinds of gazes from all directions. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change at all. She faintly raised her eyebrows, arms crossed over her chest, looking languid and amorous. I don't have an invitation card. Sure enough, Hong Mei revealed a complacent smile. Without an invitation card, how did you enter the Feng family? Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and looked at her feet. I walked in. Don't tell me I flew in. You don't have an invitation card. Who will let you in? Hong Mei spat. You're obviously the one who sneaked into the Feng family without permission. Yiqing Luo casually hooked her lips. I'm really sorry. I happen to be the kind of person who doesn't need an invitation card and can still walk sideways in the Feng family. She curled her lips and glanced at Hong Mei with ridicule and ridicule. I'm different from you. This was simply a blatant ridicule. Hong Mei's face was almost twisted into a ball. You're still quibbling? Hong Mei looked behind her. Go. Ask the Feng family's housekeeper to come over. Say that we caught a person who sneaked into the Feng family's banquet without an invitation card. The lady responded and hurriedly turned around to look for the person. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms and leaned against the stone table behind her. This Hong Mei was really a troublemaker. Whenever they met her, they would always cause trouble. Lin Mingyao wondered how her youngest uncle managed to have such a niece. If this Hong Mei was really little uncle's niece, Lin Mingyao would not be able to help her. She decided cut off all ties. She would never call a fool her sister. Yiqing Luo looked in the direction where Granny Feng and Feng she had left. He calculated the time. He guessed that Granny Feng would be back soon. Yiqing Luo wasn't in the mood to tangle with Hong Mei here. He still had to rush over to his grandfather's place. If grandfather waited for too long, the other guilds were worried. Moreover, when Feng she came over later, the kid would see such an unfriendly side of her, which might traumatize him at such a young age and make him think that women were terrifying creatures. That would be terrible. He could teach these little scums a lesson whenever he wanted. Don't panic. There is still a long way to go before the banquet. He would send Feng she over after he met his grandfather. Let's play slowly. Her pink lips were curled into a smile, and her eyebrows seemed to be filled with mockery. This caused the group of women to gnash their teeth in anger. Hong Mei was just about to say a few words of mockery before the Feng family's housekeeper arrived, but she suddenly heard the young lady call out in a frivolous tone, "Oh, isn't that Flower King and Master Feng?" Chapter 48:30. The two words Flower King. They made a group of women immediately look happy. Is it my husband? Is he here? Where is he? A group of women suddenly looked around. Sure enough, they saw two extremely outstanding people in front of the crowd. One was in a pink brocade robe, extremely charming. The other was in a bamboo robe, gentle like a young master of a noble family. The two of them had completely different styles, but when they stood together, they were inexplicably harmonious. It was pleasing to the eye. The women immediately exclaimed in ecstasy and rushed towards the direction of Ji Wuhua. Hong Mei was just about to rush over with her sisters. Suddenly, she remembered the voice that reminded her just now. It seemed to be the voice of that girl in red. Hong Mei's brows twitched, and she immediately turned back. Where was the figure of the girl at the stone table? She looked around once. She didn't see that fiery figure of the girl. She actually ran away. Hong Mei clenched her fists and cursed in her heart. That slut definitely had a guilty conscience. So she took the opportunity to escape. If there was a chance to catch her, she must expose her in public. Hong Mei suppressed her anger and turned back to look at Ji Wuhua, who was surrounded by a group of women. She immediately adjusted the expression on her face. Then she swayed her slender waist towards Ji Wuhua and greeted him. Yiqing Luo deliberately brought up Ji Wuhua and Feng Changqing. It was actually a complete accident. She mainly glanced at Granny Feng, who was bringing Feng Shi over. So she said that casually. She didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. Forget it. Anyway, Ji Wuhua was a peacock. He couldn't live without women. She sent a bunch of women in front of Ji Wuhua, letting him hug them on both sides. She left them to Ji Wuhua to drag. Yiqing Luo walked towards Granny Feng with a smile and took Feng Shi from her arms. Granny Feng's gaze went past Yiqing Luo and looked in the direction of Hong Mei and the others. Young miss, what happened? Nothing. Yiqing Luo smiled and waved her hand. Granny Feng saw that there were no extra marks on Yiqing Luo, and her mood was not affected much. Then she was relieved. Little miss, you're the little miss of the Feng family and the future patriarch of the Feng family. If you encounter any problems, just ask the family head for help. Granny Feng instructed as she led the way. Yiqing Luo followed behind, her eyes filled with smiles. I know, I won't stand on ceremony with grandfather. Granny Feng led the way. Yiqing Luo could clearly hear the noise of singing and dancing, getting clearer and clearer. Granny Feng arranged for them to rest in a room dozens of meters away from the banquet. The distance and direction. Coincidentally, he could see a portion of the banquet. Adding on to the fact that Yiqing Luo was extremely sensitive towards sounds, she was able to hear the voices from the other end of the banquet. Little miss, sit here for a while. When the patriarch calls out your name, come out from here. Granny Feng pulled Yiqing Luo and showed her the way. This road, keep walking straight ahead until you reach the patriarch. Yiqing Luo nodded her head. Granny Feng then took Feng Shi to the Feng family master to warn him. This small house was built in the garden and was surrounded by the fragrance of flowers. There were also branches that entered the house through the window. It was a different feeling. Yiqing Luo liked this style very much. The sound from the banquet was very lively. Yiqing Luo leaned against the window and looked towards the banquet. Through the cover of the branches, she could vaguely see that the guests were taking their seats. Chapter 48:31. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell on the group of people who were sitting in a group. It was Hong Mei and that group of people. At this time, each and every one of them were sticking to Ji Wuhua's side, trying to please him. Ji Wuhua was indeed patient when facing women. His face was full of smiles as he appeased them one by one. Feng Zhangqing was so annoyed that he left Ji Wuhua and headed towards Patriarch Feng. About the time it took for half a stick of incense to burn. The guests were basically all seated. There were no more guests entering the banquet. Patriarch Feng got up happily and started his lengthy opening speech. It was nothing more than praising Yiqing Luo in all kinds of ways. It attracted the echoes of numerous guests. Yiqing Luo half supported the window as she looked at Patriarch Feng's joyful look from afar. Her pink lips unconsciously hooked up. Grandfather was really very happy. Seeing grandfather so happy, she agreed to this reunion banquet and didn't feel that it was so troublesome. She was looking at Patriarch Feng with a smile, reading the opening speech. Suddenly, her ears moved slightly. The smile on her face disappeared as her gaze suddenly congealed to a place not far away from the window. A black shadow flashed past. Vaguely, there was a bit of dangerous aura. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed as she flipped over the window and followed the black shadow quietly. That black shadow was extremely fast, wandering among the flower beds that filled the sky and the lush foliage of the trees, as if it was deliberately avoiding something. Yiqing Luo chased closely. She could vaguely see it. The black silhouette in front of him was a person wearing a black robe that was shrouded from head to toe. She felt that these people who wanted to create trouble were all sick in the head. Dressed in a black robe in broad daylight, even his face was covered. Wasn't this even more eye-catching? One look, and it was obvious that he was a villain, trying to create trouble. Grandfather was very happy for this reunion banquet. She couldn't let others ruin the reunion banquet. That black shadow went straight to the vicinity of the banquet. There were many maids coming and going. The black shadow stuck close to a few lush trees to hide his figure, or as if he was observing something in the dark. Yiqing Luo noticed that the black shadow seemed to be looking at Grandfather's direction. The target was Grandfather? Another half an incense stick of time passed. It was time for Grandpa's opening remarks to end. The black shadow suddenly took out something from his bosom. Yiqing Luo could vaguely see that it was a spherical object. It looked like he was going to throw it in the direction of the banquet. Oh no, that's a hallucinatory ball from the immortal world. Old Man Song's voice urgently rang out. If that ball explodes at the banquet, the smoke that sprays out will create illusions for those who breathe it. It was also commonly known as dream building. It was a dream that had been set long ago. Yiqing Luo's expression froze slightly. One had to know that everyone present was a reputable figure in the god realm. They were all representatives of the major nobles. This black shadow actually dared to do this in front of so many people with the psychedelic ball? What was the purpose of this? What kind of illusion was that ball creating? Were they trying to mess up the reunion banquet? Yiqing Luo's expression congealed slightly as she squinted her sharp eyes. He was just about to rush forward to stop that person. Suddenly, that black shadow who was holding the psychedelic ball suddenly went limp and fell backwards. At the moment when it had not caused a sensation, Yiqing Luo could only vaguely see a red sleeve brushing past. That black shadow had disappeared without a trace. The wind blew and the leaves rustled, as if that black shadow was just an illusion and had never appeared. Chapter 48:32. Yiqing Luo's eyes congealed as her brows furrowed slightly. She quickly moved and stopped at the place where the black figure had hidden itself. Her gaze surveyed the surroundings as she released her senses. Indeed, she didn't feel any abnormality. Impossible. Someone must have taken that black shadow away just now. What was their motive? Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to ponder over the reason, a mischievous person came looking for her. "It's you." Hong Mei's voice was heard. "You commoner, you really sneaked into the banquet. What motive do you have?" Yiqing Luo turned her head. Then he saw Hong Mei leading a few of her bewitching girls and 10-odd guards charging over in a ferocious manner. Hong Mei originally led a group of sisters, surrounding Ji Wuhua and fawning on him. But there were too many people crowding around. She only had one husband. Even if Ji Wuhua treated every lady gently and said a few words to her, but there was no way to take care of everyone. Plus Hong Mei had just been ridiculed by a commoner, young lady. Her mood wasn't particularly good. She was only thinking about that commoner young lady's motive in the Feng residence. It was a coincidence. She just happened to see the red-robed young lady's figure looming in the trees, not more than 10 steps away from the banquet. She seemed to be hiding there, spying on everything at the banquet. Hong Mei was instantly excited. Indeed, someone who sneaked into the banquet. Now she was still hiding in the dark and didn't dare to show her head. If she was at the Feng family's banquet, if she caught this unknown person, if she caught her in public and chased her out of the Feng family's courtyard, this was also beneficial to her family. It could also let her husband's sight be placed on her alone. And that slut would also be cursed by everyone in the god realm. Hence, which resulted in the above incident where Hong Mei led her men to surround Yiqing Luo. Hearing the familiar voice and that mischievous tone, Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she looked at Hong Mei. She hadn't looked for Hong Mei yet. Hong Mei actually came knocking on her door. Did she have to stick her face in front of her for her to slap? Yiqing Luo couldn't understand this trick. Hong Mei pointed at Yiqing Luo and looked at the guards behind her. It's this woman. She must have some motive for sneaking into the banquet. Quick, catch her. The guard stared at the girl and read in front of him. Suddenly, he hesitated. The girl in front of him was enchanting and charming. Her pair of charming eyes seemed to ripple with the colors of the starry sky. He just stood there. It was as if a fairy from a ninth heaven had descended to the mortal world. He didn't seem like someone who would do something like sneaking into the banquet. Especially, Hong Mei didn't know, but the guards could tell at a glance. The blazing red robe on the young girl seemed to have a simple design and embroidery. But in fact, whether it was the fabric or the embroidery, that was the exclusive top design of the Feng family, especially on the girl's chest. It was embroidered like cherry blossoms. Isn't this the symbol of the Feng family? This girl, it was related to the Feng family. The guard's hesitation caused Hong Mei's expression to immediately darken. What are you all standing around for? I can guarantee you that she doesn't have an invitation on her. Looking at Hong Mei's gloomy face, Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly welled up with a trace of playful laughter. Her pink lips curled up into a bright smile. Yeah, I don't have an invitation. Her that. She admitted it herself. Hong Mei grabbed the guard next to her. She doesn't have an invitation, and yet she appeared here sneakily. There must be something wrong. Yiqing Luo's smile became even more radiant as her long and narrow eyes curved. Chapter 48:33. I'm so powerful. Even without an invitation, I can still come and go freely in the Feng family, the young lady said with a smile. Her tone was very calm, without showing off at all, as if she was stating a fact. But this smile fell into Hong Mei's eyes. That was a blatant ridicule. She clenched her fists and sneered coldly. Who do you think you are? Saying such words at the Feng family's banquet. Aren't you afraid of cutting your own tongue? Some people just overestimate themselves. You've already been caught in the act, yet you're still putting on an act, relying on that vixen face of yours. Even the Feng family's guards are captivated. What a great ability. Isn't that so? The girls started to talk at once and started the ridicule mode. The guards' faces darkened when they heard that. What did it mean that they were captivated by a woman? They didn't have any eyesight, and even questioned their professional security. But the other party was a guest. No matter how dissatisfied they were in their hearts, they had to forcefully suppress it down, ignoring this group of women, and the young lady who was ridiculed by the crowd. At this moment, her hands were crossed in front of her chest, looking at them lazily, as if looking at a retard. That enchanting and charming face, there wasn't a bit of embarrassment and anger. That kind of arrogance, elegance. It was an innate nobility that was naturally formed. What you said is right. Some people just overestimate themselves. The young lady's clear voice with a hint of ridicule. She tilted her head and blinked her charming eyes. Why don't we make a bet? What do you want to do? Hong Mei's brows tightened vigilantly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly. Let's bet between the two of us. Who will be thrown out of the Feng family's courtyard first? How about it? Hong Mei stared at her up and down, as if trying to see what tricks she was playing. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers touched her lips. You don't dare? Sister Hong Mei, just bet with her. The girls opened their mouths. You're the niece of the acting god emperor. She's a thief who sneaked into the Feng family's residence. Naturally, she will be thrown out of the Feng family's courtyard. Why are you afraid of her? Hong Mei heard this and felt that it was reasonable, even if she had caused such a huge commotion at the banquet. However, what she did was to maintain the order of the banquet and the safety of the guests. For the sake of her mother and uncle's relationship, how could the Feng family possibly drive her out? This girl, he was probably trying to make use of her suspicious personality. He was purposely scaring her. Thinking like this, Hong Mei calmed herself down. What do you want to bet? Give me something simple. Yiqing Luo casually snapped her fingers. I bet you will be thrown out of the Feng family immediately, and your family will also be removed from the list of nobles. You. Hong Mei's expression changed. She clenched her fists and clenched her teeth. What if I don't? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and smiled innocently. I'm at your disposal. A haze flashed across Hong Mei's eyes. Fine, you said it yourself. Of course. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled slightly. If I win, there's no need for you to do anything too difficult. She pointed her slender fingers at the ground. Just kneel on the ground and shout, "You're a pig," 3 times. Hong Mei was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to know and put on a considerate look. Isn't it very simple? No need to thank me, who asked me to be so kind. Hong Mei took a deep breath. This girl, every word and sentence, was deliberately leading her imagination to run wild. On the surface, she looked calm. In fact, her heart had long been flustered. She would like to see, how much longer could this young girl continue acting? Chapter 48:34. Good. Hong Mei gritted her teeth and spat out a word. After that, she carefully stared at Yiqing Luo's expression, trying to see the panic on the young lady's face. But she only saw a mocking sneer on the young lady's face, as though she had made a stupid decision. Hong Mei's heart thumped hard. She had an inexplicable, ominous premonition. After Hong Mei agreed, Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved up, like a blooming rose full of flames. I wish you good luck. I hope your position in the Feng family is very high. Word with a smile, but it was full of ridicule. Hong Mei sneered and raised her chin. That's natural. The girls next to her laughed like a flower. I'm afraid you still don't know who our sister Hong Mei is. She is the niece of the acting god emperor. The acting god emperor and the host of today's banquet, Patriarch Feng, are father and son. That means Sister Hong Mei is Patriarch Feng's granddaughter. The girls laughed together. Do you think Patriarch Feng will chase Sister Hong Mei out? Under the flattery of many beautiful women, Hong Mei was even more proud. Suddenly, she became more confident. Looking at the group of girls in front of her, she smiled delightedly. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change as she lightly spat out a word. Oh. After that, her pink lips curved. Then, she raised her slender hand and pointed at the banquet, at the old man standing at the main seat. Her charming eyes winked playfully at him. After that, she retracted her gaze and looked at Hong Mei. This banquet, who is it for? Don't tell me you want to say it's you? Hong Mei ridiculed. Yiqing Luo nodded smilingly. Yes. Hong Mei couldn't help laughing. You don't even know who today's banquet is for, and you dare to say it's for you. This is the funniest school bell I've ever heard. Today is the banquet set up by the Feng family's patriarch for his granddaughter. Don't tell me you're going to say, you're Patriarch Feng's granddaughter? Ha ha ha. A few of them were giggling like orioles and swallows. The purple-clothed, black-haired girl rested her chin on her slender hand and nodded seriously. It's me. The group of people laughed even louder. Amidst the women's mocking laughter, the girl moved gracefully. He walked past them and headed straight for the banquet. A young girl dressed in a purple dress that was as beautiful as jade walked slowly and elegantly. Her silky black hair was combed into an exquisite hairstyle. Her enchanting face was devastatingly beautiful. She was like a fairy that had walked out of a painting. With a single glance, one would be captivated. After Hong Mei's disturbance, almost everyone's attention was drawn to him. Hong Mei's voice was so loud, everyone could roughly understand what was going on. They were all trying to guess the girl's identity. Everyone watched as the girl walked step by step towards the main seat of the banquet, towards the high-spirited old man dressed in an embroidered robe. Then he stood in front of the old man. He stretched out his hand. She smiled and said in a soft voice, "Grandfather." 2 simple words. However, it was like a bolt of lightning that struck the hearts of everyone present. One after another, they stared nervously at Patriarch Feng's expression. Immediately, they saw the old man raised his hand and held the girl's hand. You, this child, are naughty. What's going on? Didn't I tell you to listen to grandfather's words and come out? Why did you run out by yourself? Although his words were filled with complaints, but it was full of concern and pampering. 6 friends who read books You can search for blue, and you'll find this site in the first instance. Waste 7th Young Miss. Overlord, be gentle with your love. Chapter 48:35. Yiqing Luo intimately moved forward and held the old man's arm. What happened just now? Let's not tell grandfather for the time being, in case he was worried. She would tell Uncle Bone when there was a chance. Let Uncle Bone pay attention to the Feng family's courtyard. I just wanted to sneak out to take a look. I didn't expect. The young lady looked towards the direction of Hong Mei and the others. She deliberately diverted the topic. Hong Mei's action had already attracted the attention of the guests at the banquet. Yiqing Luo said so. Everyone's vision turned towards Hong Mei. Suddenly, they heard what Yiqing Luo hadn't finished her sentence. Miss Feng wanted to sneak out to take a look because of the liveliness of the banquet, but was caught by Hong Mei. She insisted that the other party was a thief who sneaked into the Feng family courtyard. This was a big misunderstanding. The way everyone looked at Hong Mei was filled with the expression of watching a good show. This Hong Mei was famous for being arrogant and despotic in the God Realm's aristocratic circle, especially because she was infatuated with Flower King, one of the 3 kings. Addicted to Flower King's stunning looks. She would rather be one of Flower King's many women. She would rather not be another aristocratic's wife. Then, she was especially disgusted with beautiful women. Whenever a young and beautiful woman appeared, she would compete with her for Flower King's favor. As a result, their methods were extremely cruel, and they destroyed many young and beautiful civilians. What's more, there were some aristocratic ladies whose status was not as good as Hong Mei's family. But Hong Mei had a good mother. She had a relationship with the acting God Emperor. Many aristocrats were furious but dared not say anything, which made Hong Mei even more unscrupulous. But now, Hong Mei had kicked an iron plate. The enchanting beauty who was thought to be easy to bully. She became the miss of the Feng family, who was doted on by the Feng family. Could Hong Mei still rely on her mother's power to survive? Hong Mei, who was stared at by all kinds of strange gazes, felt cold all over and stood stiffly on the spot. She could clearly feel the mockery from the crowd, as well as the anticipation of a good show. She wanted to get angry. She wanted to roar. She wanted to scold those guests who wanted to laugh at her. But her body was stiff, and she couldn't even say a word. His throat seemed to be blocked by something. It was difficult for her to breathe, and her exquisitely made-up face was flushed. No, impossible. How could that bitch be Miss Feng? But the girl standing next to the majestic Feng family master. The fiery red dress was as enchanting as fire. It made the young girl's enchanting face look even more alluring. Her long and narrow eyes were curved and watery. The girl just stood there, her pink lips curled up into a faint smile. Languid, overbearing, insufferably arrogant. She was a true princess, a princess capable of showing disdain for all. Hong Mei's heart was thumping wildly. It sounded like it was about to jump out of his throat. She was dreaming. She was definitely dreaming. That bitch couldn't be Miss Feng. However, no matter how she opened and rubbed her eyes, everything in front of him, it was still happening. She continued to accept everyone's mocking gazes. Grandfather, it's her. When I just entered the Feng residence, she led that group of people to block my way and even try to kill me in the Feng residence. Sob, sob, sob. Yiqing Luo held Feng family master's hand and smiled sweetly. But the words that came out of her mouth were full of grievances. Hong Mei was so angry that her expression changed. Chapter 48:36. You still have the cheek to mock me for having my family to back me up? What you're doing now? How are you any better than a 3-year-old? He was a slut who would complain to his elders if he couldn't win, and let his family back him up. How dare he say that to her? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved as she smiled brilliantly, teasingly and provocatively spat out the words. You have a backer, but you don't use it, you're a fool. He didn't want to complain. How was he going to make her hate him? Kill him. Feng Clan Master's face suddenly darkened. His gaze was sharp as he coldly glanced at Hong Mei. Miss Jiang. His voice was dignified, cold and dignified. I don't know how my granddaughter offended you. You pestered her again and again, And you even insulted my most beloved granddaughter at such an important moment of the Feng family's banquet? What's more, he wants her life. His questioning tone caused the atmosphere of the entire banquet to tense up. Jiang, Hongmei's surname. In other words, the God Realm. *T nobility. When Feng clan master said the word Jiang. In the VIP area, a middle-aged couple immediately stood up. Master Feng, please calm down. Feng family master laughed angrily. The good daughter you taught dares to make trouble so wantonly at my Feng family's banquet. You even pestered Miss Feng endlessly. Do you want me to calm down now? He directed his anger there. The sure couple said, Tell me, what is the purpose of the Feng family's banquet today? It was a banquet set up for their Feng family's little princess. Even if he didn't know where this little princess came from. However, the Feng family's master was willing to hold a banquet to let the entire realm of gods know of the existence of the little princess. That was because they valued him highly enough. Moreover, looking at the doting and kindness of Feng clan master to the girl, it was completely obvious. How much did Patriarch Feng dote on that girl? Jiang the sure couple knew, but he didn't dare to say it. Feng clan master didn't ask further. He sneered, and his dignified and cold eyes stared at Jiang, chin oppressively. Sure couple, now, I'm a little suspicious. Is Miss Jiang doing this under the orders of your Jiang family? Jiang the sure couple's expression changed. Feng family head, this matter has absolutely nothing to do with our Jiang family. Everything is because this rebellious daughter is not sensible. Jiang the she couple immediately strode toward Hong Mei and kicked her. Kneel down and apologize to Miss Feng. Hong Mei sprawled on the ground as his eyes stared deadly at Yiqing Luo. His hands were clenched into fists and his face was twisted. Apologize? Make her apologize to that bitch? No, absolutely not. She retorted unwillingly. She never said that she was Miss Feng. I didn't know at all. I saw her sneaking around the Feng family. I was just worried about the safety of the Feng family. Feng family master sneered angrily. Jiang family, you raised such a good daughter. I'm afraid my Feng family can't tolerate you great Buddhas. Patriarch Feng. The sure couple's faces turned pale. The Feng family was going to expel the Jiang family. Sever ties with the Jiang family? If the Feng family and the Jiang family became enemies. This also meant that the Jiang family's status in the realm of the gods would plummet. Countless aristocrats would give face to the Feng family and sever ties with the Jiang family. Madame Jiang's face was pale as she spoke carefully. Patriarch Feng, this is merely a joke between the younger generation. Hong Mei is just thinking of the Feng family's safety. She paused and continued. Acting God Emperor knows Hong Mei very well and knows that Hong Mei, this child, doesn't have any bad intentions. Chapter 48:37. Madame Jiang deliberately mentioned Feng Liqiang. She hoped that Patriarch Feng would calm down for Feng Liqiang's sake. But Madame Jiang didn't know what happened to the Feng family. She didn't know that Patriarch Feng was still angry with Feng Liqiang. Mentioning Feng Liqiang, that further ignited his anger. He opened his mouth and was about to fly into a rage. A pair of white nuns' tender and soft hand pressed his arm. The young girl raised her head. Her facial features were enchanting and charming. But that pair of eyes were clear and clean. That smile was also the old man's favorite pure young girl smile. It was like a warm breeze caressing the old man's face, easily soothing the anger in his heart. Grandfather, such a small matter. It's not enough to make you so angry. Yiqing Luo smiled softly. Don't get angry. I will be worried. The young girl's gentle words. Just a few simple words. This calmed down the furious old man's expression. Yiqing Luo smiled as she rubbed his arm. Leave this matter to me to handle. All right. No matter what you want to do, grandfather will support you. Patriarch Feng's words unconsciously told everyone that he doted on Yiqing Luo and Yiqing Luo's position in the Feng family. Yiqing Luo curved her charming eyes. Grandfather is the best. Softly acting coquettishly, made the old man smile. The displeasure he felt just now was completely gone. Yiqing Luo Koch's grandfather then raised her eyes, narrow and charming eyes, looked at Hong Mei, who was lying on the ground. Madame Jiang saw that the matter was handed over to a young girl like Yiqing Luo to handle. That was compared to Patriarch Feng, that kind of stubborn old man. It was much easier to deal with. Madame Jiang put on a kind smile, went forward and smiled at Yiqing Luo. Miss Feng, Hong Mei is just joking with you. Miss Feng is so beautiful. I think you must be a kind woman. Today is a banquet specially arranged for you. You don't want your reunion banquet to be ruined by such a small matter. I will let Hong Mei apologize to you, and you will forgive Hong Mei. Everyone will be happy. How about that? Madame Jiang thinks I'm easy to bully? The young girl ignored Madame Jiang's smiling face. Her voice was clear and cold. The girl's enchanting eyebrows arched upwards, looking very noble and elegant. She curled her lips and smiled casually. Joking? Madame Jiang likes to joke around so much. Why don't our Feng family play a few more with you? Who does Hong Mei think she is? You want me to forgive you just because you apologized to me? It was just a few short sentences. He was born with nobility and disdain. It was emanating from his bones. It was also completely untouched. The nobles didn't have any face at all. Jiang the Sure couple's faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. At this moment, suddenly, a voice came from the other end of the banquet avenue. Is this the atmosphere of the reunion banquet? There was a hint of ridicule in that voice. Soon after, everyone saw a dark blue embroidered robe with an enormous dragon on it, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, making that person look handsome and dignified. With one hand behind his back, he walked calmly. When they entered the banquet, all the guests stood up. Acting Divine Emperor. Who would have thought that the acting God Emperor would come personally? It seemed that the Feng family really cared about this little princess. Everyone was excited. Why is he here? Feng family's patriarch frowned. Looking at Feng Liqiang striding towards them, he lowered his voice. Little Luo, it's you? Feng Liqiang was poisoned by Yiqing Luo. She had been lying on the bed, unable to move. Chapter 48:38. The head of the Feng family also had the intention of confining Feng Liqiang for a few days so that she could put all the messy things in her mind to the back of her mind. So he didn't allow Yiqing Luo to cure Feng Liqiang. Today's banquet. He didn't plan on letting Feng Liqiang participate either. But Feng Liqiang had arrived. Moreover, he seemed to be in high spirits. Obviously, he was in excellent condition. Other than Yiqing Luo, no one else could cure him. Little uncle wants to come. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes curved. After all, this is my reunion banquet, and currently, he is also my godfather. Of course I'll get the stage. Feng clan master frowned. This brat, I don't know what he will do. Little uncle is the acting God Emperor. With his status, the banquet has already started. How could he cancel the banquet at the last minute? Yiqing Luo wasn't worried that Feng Liqiang would do that. To youngest uncle, protecting the Feng family and protecting God Emperor's reputation is the most important thing for him. Therefore, even if he really wanted the so-called treasures of the Feng family, he had been suppressing the restlessness in his heart. He was only secretly searching for the Feng family's treasures in a way that would not harm the Feng family. Feng family lord glanced at Feng Liqiang and snorted a few times. You're too soft-hearted. If that bastard does anything to embarrass you later, don't blame me for not giving face to his acting Shenhuang. His words were full of disdain. But the old man was obviously very happy. This reunion banquet. Naturally, it was best for the Feng family to be present. A family should be neat and tidy. Feng Liqiang strode to Feng clan's lord's side, then turned around and faced the guests. Isn't this a banquet? Why are you all standing there? Be uncle. Suddenly, Hong Mei burst into tears. Uncle, save me. Save me. Hong Mei scrambled to her feet and pounced at Feng Liqiang. Uncle, Miss Feng. Miss Feng wants to kick me out of the banquet. You have to save me. I don't want to be kicked out. She still had a bet with Yiqing Luo. If he was really chased out, how could she have the face to live in this world? A figure suddenly appeared and knelt in front of Feng Liqiang. The Jiang couple were frightened out of their wits. When he saw Feng Liqiang's gaze shift to Hong Mei, he was startled. Madame Jiang had to grit her teeth and took the lead to take control of the sovereignty, acting Shen Wang. Hong Mei is just thinking for the safety of the Feng family. There is no malice. There is no need to make the younger generations play so stiff. Hong Mei sobbed and pinned all her hopes on Feng Liqiang. Uncle, Mayor knows she was wrong. Mayor won't mess around again. Uncle, please forgive Mayor this time. Feng Liqiang's eyes widened. Feng Liqiang's brows creased slightly as she lowered her head to look at the young lady by her feet, and then glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo, as though he wanted to see what Yiqing Luo's attitude was. Yiqing Luo knew what Feng Liqiang meant. Although Feng Liqiang would not do anything to tarnish the reputation of the divine emperor and the Feng family, but that didn't mean he wouldn't deliberately target her. After all, for her, Feng Liqiang still felt uncomfortable. No matter what she showed, Feng Liqiang would protect Hong Mei. Yiqing Luo simply curled her pink lips and smiled sweetly. I didn't expect Miss Hong Mei to be Godfather's niece. In this way, you can be considered as my cousin. When she said the words Godfather and cousin, the young lady deliberately emphasized the tone of her words, revealing some meaningful ridicule. Chapter 48-39. Feng Liqiang's face turned slightly red from the two forms of address. The feeling of being called Godfather by his own niece was really awkward, especially when he heard his own niece mentioning another niece in a mocking tone. He almost couldn't hold back and wanted to explain. But after meeting the young lady's slightly teasing, long, narrow eyes, Feng Liqiang still suppressed this impulse. Immediately after, he heard Yiqing Luo's extremely generous voice leisurely. In addition, Cousin Hong Mei is one of the flowers in the Flower King's backyard. He didn't know if the young lady did it on purpose. She intentionally mentioned one of the Flower Kings in the backyard, full of sarcasm. However, the young girl was full of smiles, like a blooming flower, bright and beautiful. There was no fault to be found. After all, I am beautiful and kind-hearted, so I won't haggle with Cousin Hong Mei. Yiqing Luo touched her own face. Where is she? Stay and attend my family reunion banquet. The meaning of her words was to let the Jiang family's aristocrats off. He was obviously humiliated in front of everyone with a smile on his face, and politely. Hong Mei was forced by her own parents to bow and thank them. He was extremely lowly. Hong Mei was so angry that her face was twisted. However, he still avoided giving thanks and apologies that were as humble as dust. Yiqing Luo waved her hand in a lofty manner. It's all right. I hope Cousin Hong Mei can open her eyes and use her brain. Immediately after, her charming eyes turned to Feng Liqiang. Is Godfather satisfied with the way I handled it? Feng Liqiang's face darkened. His face was cold and his eyes were icy cold, but the words he spoke were warm, which didn't match his expression. Qing Luo is now the Feng family's miss. No matter what you do, you have your own judgment. Godfather will not obstruct you. Do whatever you want to do. That sentence was telling Yiqing Luo she could deal with the Jiang family's aristocrats however she wanted. He wouldn't interfere. She didn't need to give him face. But was Feng Liqiang really so kind? Yiqing Luo didn't believe it. That rotten old man of his is very bad. Who knew what game he was playing? In any case, it was right not to listen. Feng Liqiang's words caused Hong Mei, who had been kneeling on the ground, to go limp. The Jiang couple were so frightened that they almost knelt down. If the acting god emperor didn't care about them, their Jiang family would really be destroyed in a day. But fortunately, Yiqing Luo didn't change her mind because of Feng Liqiang's words. She only curved her pink lips into a peerlessly beautiful smile. Then it's decided. Mr. and Mrs. Jiang were right about one thing. Grandpa cares a lot about the reunion party. There's no need to affect Grandpa's and my mood for the unimportant people and trivia. She took Master Feng's arm and smiled at him intimately. Grandpa, am I right? Little Luo is right. Whatever little Luo says is right. Patriarch Feng doted on him unconditionally. Yiqing Luo's smile became even more joyous. This episode. And so, the curtains fell. Feng clan master glanced at the Jiang clan's aristocrats and waved his hand. He gestured for them to return to their positions. Hong Mei was almost lifted up and brought towards the direction of the Jiang clan's aristocrats. Those women who had followed Hong Mei and acted as her accomplices were also taken back by their respective families. Ji Wuhua's side was instantly deserted by half. Ji Wuhua leaned lazily on Feng Zhongqing's shoulder as he gave a devilish smile. TSK, this little witty girl. I really like her more and more. Chapter 4840. With just a few words, she not only suppressed the purpose of the acting emperor, but also made the nobles of the Jiang family, as well as me, owe her a big favor. Ji Wuhua, who was covered in fleas, arched his back and said, I can guarantee that she is definitely not someone who will let things go peacefully. I'm afraid there are more exciting things waiting for Hong Mei. She's your woman. Don't you feel sorry for her? Feng Zhongqing glanced at him. Beauty, I feel sorry for her. Ji Wuhua smiled faintly. Unfortunately, she's not a beauty anymore. So, what was there to feel heartache about? His voice started to sound like horse fleas as he twisted his body. Miss Qing Luo is the most compatible with me. The more I see Miss Qing Luo, the deeper my feelings towards her. Don't even think about it, Feng Zhongqing said lightly. She can't possibly like you. How could there be a woman in this world who doesn't like me? Ji Hua abruptly sat up straight as he caressed his own face with one hand. Say, what kind of person do you think is able to attract Miss Qing Luo's attention? He sighed. I'm so good-looking, but Miss Qing Luo doesn't even fancy me. Don't tell me there's a man who is better looking than me in this world. Feng Zhongqing. He turned his head away with an expression that said, I don't want to talk to this idiot. However, when Feng Zhongqing slightly lowered his eyes, that gentle face had a hint of melancholy that flashed for a moment before disappearing. Hong Mei returned to her seat. There were also sounds of ridicule coming from all directions. It was especially so for the noble lady who was not used to seeing her. She sneered. Some people are really bold. I'm afraid they didn't bring their eyes when they went out. They didn't even recognize the high and mighty Miss Feng. Not only did I not bring my eyes, I didn't bring my brain either. Does she have a brain? Ha ha. She actually wants to ask Miss Feng for the invitation to the Feng family's banquet. She is the miss of the Feng family, the little princess that the master of the Feng family dotes on. Indeed, even without an invitation letter, she can still rampage in the Feng family. Ha ha ha, what a joke! Be it the lower realms or the god realm, a person's bad nature would never change. When a wall is down, everyone gives a push. Even if Miss Feng was merciful and forgave Hong Mei. But the impact of this matter on the nobles of the Jiang family was not insignificant, even if they could still stand firmly among the ranks of nobles. But they were not on the same level as the nobles of the Jiang family, who were above thousands of nobles before today. Hong Mei was so angry that she wanted to explode. However, the Jiang couple glared at him. Do you think you haven't caused enough trouble? If it wasn't for the fact that they were at a banquet, they all wanted to beat this evil woman to death. After the episode, Patriarch Feng followed the procedure. He introduced Yi Qing Luo to the public once again. Everyone's congratulatory and praising voices rang out continuously. The banquet officially began. The group of people ate, drank, and had fun. They were very carefree. Yi Qing Luo had been obediently following beside Patriarch Feng, allowing Patriarch Feng to present her like a treasure, introducing her to numerous aristocrats. He accompanied her for a few drinks. Yi Qing Luo's cup was replaced by tea. A group of people gathered around a table. Yi Qing Luo was introduced. It was one of the 5 great aristocratic families, the Shun aristocratic family. The other party was also a grandfather and a grandson. Obviously, the old man on the other side had a good relationship with Patriarch Feng. The two of them drank a few cups of wine. Old Shun began to inquire, where did Patriarch Feng deceive this granddaughter of yours? She looks so beautiful. I wonder if she is married? The moment these words came out. Chapter 48-41. The Shun family wanted to be in-laws with the Feng family. Eldest young Master Shun's complexion was like a jade crown, and his looks were rather handsome. His thin lips curled into a modest and polite smile as he spoke to Yi Qing Luo. I am Shun Qiqian. Old Shun's eyes were filled with benevolence as he looked at his grandson mockingly. This boy of mine has long reached the marriageable age. I'm worried sick for him. But this child is arrogant and doesn't fancy any lady. Today when he saw Miss Feng, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Shin Qiqian's face was slightly red, but he still had a modest smile as he looked at Yi Qing Luo gently. That gaze was as tender as water, as though he wanted to drown Yi Qing Luo in it. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but shudder. If it wasn't for the inappropriate occasion, she still wanted to roll up her sleeves and rub the goosebumps. The sudden topic made Feng family's patriarch's expression change slightly. He heard that his grandson already had someone in his heart, but he had never seen that man before. Who knew if it would be like Feng Gu in the past? He might not even acknowledge the existence of that man. So Feng family's patriarch would absolutely not mention anything about Yi Qing Luo already having someone in her heart at this moment. But it was also impossible to agree to old Shin's idea of marriage. Shen Qiqian, how dare you snatch her from me? Ji Wuhua slammed the table and stood up with his eyes wide open. You don't even look half as good as me, and you still want to pursue Miss Qing Luo? Puffed. Saying that, he rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush over. Feng Zhangqing pulled him back. Don't mess around. Patriarch will not agree. No, I want to go up and declare my sovereignty. Miss Qing Luo will only be mine. Ji Wuhua struggled. Feng Zhangqing stared at his exaggerated expression and couldn't bear to hurt him. I believe that if you rush up now, the only result will be being kicked out by Patriarch. The entire God realm. Who didn't know his, Ji Wuhua's, nickname? With Feng family's patriarch's attitude of pampering Yi Qing Luo, he knew that he was coveting Yi Qing Luo. Feng family's patriarch was already being merciful if he didn't chop him to death. Ji Wuhua stopped struggling and turned to stare at Feng Zhangqing. It's not suitable for me to rush up, but you can? Feng Zhangqing was taken aback. Then he thought of something. He pursed his lips and hesitated for a long time before saying, I have something to tell you, young Master Shun, right? A clear and cold voice broke the discussions at this moment. It also stopped Feng Zhangqing from saying anything else. The girl in the fiery red dress curved her pink lips slightly, and her beautiful smile was like a blooming rose. The lines at the corners of her eyes were mesmerizing. Shin Qiqian's heart was stirred by this glance and this smile. Yes, the girl smiled. It's only the first time I've met young Master Shun. Isn't it a little too casual to talk about love? Old Shin's expression froze when he heard that. Shin Qiqian's expression also changed slightly. However, the girl was smiling, polite and gentle. It was impossible for anyone to be angry at her. Shin Qiqian hurriedly said, No, because I fell in love with Miss Feng at first sight. Love at first sight? Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened. All love at first sight is just lust. To put it bluntly, young Master Shun is only interested in my body. This body, and it was fake. An enchanting and charming face that could cause the downfall of a country, plus the identity of Feng family's miss. Chapter 48-42. Probably half of the people present had fallen in love with her at first sight. Shin Qiqian was stumped by Yi Qing Luo's words. Patriarch Feng interrupted in time. All right. These matters should be decided by the juniors themselves. He looked lovingly at the young lady next to him. I have nothing more to ask for now. I only hope that my little Luo can be happy. Old Shin laughed out loud as he patted Shun Qiqian's shoulder. Chinner, did you hear that? Old Feng wants you to grasp the opportunity yourself. Shin Qiqian's face flushed slightly, showing the youth's inexperience. I understand. They were all smart people. Every word and sentence could lead to various topics. Patriarch Feng naturally wouldn't fall out in front of everyone. Shin Qiqian's eyes were filled with tenderness as he looked at Yi Qing Luo with a modest and warm smile. Miss Feng, I will use time to prove my sincerity. Yi Qing Luo. She wanted to vomit. To tell the truth, she didn't want to expose Shun Qiqian's modest mask. No matter how young and inexperienced Shun Qiqian appeared, no matter how tender he was, She could see the greed and yearning in Shun Qiqian's eyes. To put it bluntly, he got close to her because of her identity as the Feng family's miss, plus this face. Of course, even without this face, Shen Qiqian would come over. His motive was too strong. Yiqing Luo was just about to put on a smiling face. Suddenly, a voice was heard from not far away. Sincerity in time. We don't need to trouble eldest young Master Shun. Feng Liqiang walked over slowly. He squinted his eyes dangerously as he looked at Shun Qiqian with a faint smile. Our little Luo already has a fiancé. What? Shun Qiqian frowned in shock. How is this possible? Why is it not possible? Feng Liqiang scoffed lightly as he strode to Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Luo looked sideways as she stared at Feng Liqiang's face. He secretly reached out to his waist and pinched him hard. What is the meaning of this, foster father? Feng Liqiang's expression remained unchanged as he straightened his back and looked towards the direction of the guests. Changqing, come over. Feng Changqing rose to his feet. Ji Wuhua grabbed his arm. What do you mean? Feng Zhangqing shook his head imperceptibly, a complicated look in his eyes. He walked to Feng Liqiang's side. Feng Liqiang pushed Feng Changqing in front of Yiqing Luo and smiled lovingly. Little Luo, this is your future husband. Yiqing Luo, Patriarch Feng, Jiwa, everyone, what the F***CK, what the hell? Feng Changqing, her future husband? The corners of Yiqing Luo's mouth twitched as she tried hard to calm down the emotions on her face. Godfather, I think you should think carefully before you speak. The arc of that smile was filled with danger. Feng Liqiang's expression did not change. Since ancient times, marriages have always been arranged by the parents and arranged by the matchmaker. I've watched Changqing grow up, so his character is naturally trustworthy. Marrying him is definitely the best choice. Feng Liqiang. Feng Clan Master was shocked by this change, and he was so angry that he gritted his teeth. This unfilial son, she just wouldn't let him be at ease? He clearly knew that little Luo's heart belonged to someone, and even forced her to marry Feng Changqing. If this wasn't intentionally creating trouble, then what was it? Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. She found it strange. Early this morning, Feng Changqing was waiting for her outside. He volunteered to be the horse groom, sending and receiving the entire set. Chapter 48-43. In particular, his every movement seemed to release his hormones, intentionally or unintentionally. Usually, Feng Zhangqing was gentle like jade and dressed like an elegant gentleman. But today he had obviously dressed up meticulously. Although Yiqing Luo felt strange, she didn't think too much about it. After all, there was still Ji Wuhua by the side. Feng Zhangqing didn't do anything else. But now, Yiqing Luo understood the reason behind it. It was clear that Feng Liqiang had planned this from the start. Trying to tie her and Feng Zhangqing together? Was she sure that she wasn't willing to spoil this banquet? Mother of her. Secluded palace didn't play any tricks. Instead, it was Feng Liqiang who was stirring up trouble here. Yiqing Luo expressed. She wanted to punch someone, but she still had to maintain her smile. Little Luo and Zhangqing have always been getting along well. If the two of them could develop further and turn my disciple into my son-in-law, what's wrong with that? Feng Liqiang smiled warmly and arrogantly. His phoenix eyes were slightly raised as he looked at Yiqing Luo in a slightly provocative manner. Yiqing Luo gave a fake smile. If you want to increase our relationship, why don't you just acknowledge him as your godson? Feng Liqiang waved her hand. Zhangqing likes you. As his master, I naturally have to fulfill his wish. What King perfection was this? Happy my ass. Don't think she didn't know. Feng Zhangqing didn't like her at all. The reason why he did this was because he listened to his master's words. Feng Liqiang's move made old Shun a little embarrassed. They wanted to make use of this Miss Feng to climb up to the Feng family. But they didn't expect that Feng Liqiang had already set the engagement for Miss Feng. Their restless hearts could only be kept away. But they accepted. It didn't mean others would. For example, Ji Wuhua. Ji Wuhua was in a daze. His goddess wanted to be good to his best brother, and they were going to get engaged? Just a moment ago, he was still telling his brother about his deep love for his goddess. The next moment, his brother and his goddess were together. He couldn't accept it. A swoosh sound was heard. He rose to his feet, pointing a finger at Feng Zhangqing and cursed. Feng Zhangqing, Shen Shiqian came out to snatch Miss Qing Luo from me, and now you're here to snatch her from me. Do you still see me as your brother? He strode forward, grabbed Feng Zhangqing's lapel, and shouted valiantly, I don't agree. I absolutely won't agree. Following that, he looked towards Patriarch Feng with a serious look. Patriarch Feng, actually I have had Miss Qing Luo's heart for a very long time. He was serious and full of sincerity. After finishing this sentence, Feng Clan Master's white beard twitched as he stared at Ji Wuhua. Tell me, are you not happy when you see that woman? Ji Wuhua put on a serious look. Now, I only have Miss Qing Luo in my eyes. As long as Patriarch Feng is willing to betroth Miss Qing Luo to me, those ladies in my 100 Flower Gardens are willing to dismiss Miss Qing Luo. You get lost. Patriarch Feng couldn't control himself as he lifted his leg and kicked Ji Wuhua's face. I would rather marry Xiao Luo to Zhangqing than marry a libertine like you. Looks like father has agreed to this marriage. Feng Liqiong took the opportunity. Since that's the case, then this matter is decided. You. Patriarch Feng pointed at Feng Liqiong and then pointed at Ji Wuhua. Ji Wuhua was doing this on purpose, to make him agree to Feng Zhangqing's marriage. Ji Wuhua. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was wrongly accused. This acting god emperor was simply too treacherous. He wasn't convinced. Chapter 48-44. No matter how Ji Wuhua howled, Feng Liqiong had already made the announcement of the marriage with great determination. Ji Wuhua's eyes were brimming with tears as he rushed to Yi Qing Luo's side. Miss Qing Luo, the sun and moon can prove my feelings for you. The acting god emperor and I are definitely not in cahoots. He is scheming against me. As he wailed, as he stretched out his demonic claws towards Yi Qing Luo's little hand. Miss Qing Luo, I am sincerely pleased with you. Feng Zhangqing, that enigmatic gourd. If you marry him, you will definitely be suffocated to death. And he is not as good-looking as me. Only I am the best choice. An incomparably sincere confession. It made Yi Qing Luo's lips twitch. Enough. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand to stop Ji Wuhua's howling. Don't pester me with all these nonsense. I don't want to inexplicably be hated by others. She rolled her eyes. One red plum blossom is already troublesome enough. Are you trying to attract purple plum blossom, green plum blossom, yellow plum blossom for me? Ji Wuhua scratched his head. There are no purple plum blossom, green plum blossom, or yellow plum blossom in my 100 gardens. Yi Qing Luo. Get lost. Yi Qing Luo couldn't be bothered to talk to this retard. He looked past Ji Wuhua, who was retarded, and looked at the gentle and handsome Feng Liqiong, who was facing Feng Changqing and putting on a foster father posture. His words implied that he would hand over his daughter to him, and so on and so forth. Yi Qing Luo. This fellow had changed from the identity of a little uncle to the identity of a godfather. It was rather easy. Yi Qing Luo, who couldn't take it anymore, called out in a clear voice, Feng Zhangqing. This call immediately made everyone's gazes look over. After Feng Liqiong announced Yi Qing Luo and Feng Zhangqing's marriage, everyone was congratulating him and discussing him. Now that they suddenly heard the main character in the discussion taking the initiative to change to another main character, they suddenly felt that there was a good show to watch. Under everyone's gaze, all kinds of strange emotions intertwined. Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't change at all. Her brows raised slightly and her pink lips curled slightly, as though she was the ruler of the world, noble and elegant. You have no objections to what Godfather said? She asked directly. She didn't have a shyness that an ordinary woman should have. Feng Zhangqing smiled warmly at her. The acting emperor is my Shifu. I have no objections to his words. Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened. So you want to marry me? Miss Feng is as beautiful as a fairy, gentle and virtuous. You are the daughter of a noble family. Anyone would want to marry you. Feng Zhangqing also smiled warmly. Yi Qing Luo went straight to the point. Don't talk about other things, I'm asking. Do you want to marry me? Feng Zhangqing's smile froze, but he still spat out a word, yes. Feng Changqing, you heartless man. Ji Wuhua was so angry that he shouted, Are you still my brother? You obviously know that I love Miss Qing Luo deeply, and you still dare to butt in. Yi Qing Luo. Was the word heartbreaker used in this way? She adjusted the expression on her face to avoid being affected by that retarded Ji Wuhua. She continued to maintain an unfathomable smile. Her gaze was clear and calm as she met Feng Zhangqing's eyes. But I don't want to. She raised her eyes and looked at Feng Liqiong. Godfather and grandfather dote on me so much. Do you really bear to force me to marry someone I don't like? Nonsense. Feng Liqiong flicked her sleeves. What's there to say about liking or not? After getting along for a long time, you will naturally like him. Chapter 48-45. No matter how long we get to know each other, I won't like him. Yi Qing Luo's tone was calm. My heart already belongs to someone. I don't need Godfather to worry about me. Feng Liqiong's face darkened. Your heart belongs to someone else? Tell me, who does your heart belong to? Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled into an arc, contrasting with her long and narrow eyes. The corners of his eyes were raised, tainted with a hint of shimmering evil charm. I'm afraid my foster father won't know who my heart belongs to. Her hand gently rested on the back of Feng Clan's master's hand. Presumably, grandfather will not be willing to let me get married so early. Feng family master was just about to step forward and speak for his baby grandson. Feng Liqiong's voice grew cold as she barked. You're simply making trouble. Do you have anyone in your heart? How could I not know? Changqing was not an outsider. Even if you get married, you'll still be living in the Phoenix Mansion. What's there to be reluctant about? Yi Qing Luo. Was this guy determined to blow things up? She didn't want to ruin the reunion banquet. That was why he didn't flare up. Was little uncle doing this on purpose? Was he trying to force her to ruin her own reunion banquet? Isn't it childish? Hashtag what should I do with a childish little uncle who keeps messing around? Can I throw it away after beating it up? I'm waiting online, it's urgent. Yi Qing Luo could roughly guess Feng Liqiong's motive. First of all, it was just that she was Feng Ji's only daughter. She was the daughter of the man he called a beast. Secondly, perhaps it was so that he could control her better. Feng Zhangqing was his man. If she was really engaged to Feng Zhangqing, in that case she would stand on his side because of Feng Changqing. In the end, Feng Liqiong still hadn't given up on the idea of finding the Feng family's treasures. Feng Liqiong directly grabbed Feng Changqing and pushed him towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. If you really have someone in your heart, then call him out and let Godfather take a look. If the other party is really better than Changqing, foster father naturally won't oppose you. He had made up his mind. When Yi Qing Luo said, the person in her heart, it was just for him to hear. Yi Qing Luo and Feng Ge were the same. He was an extremely confident and flamboyant man. Not everyone could enter their sights. Back then, if it wasn't for that man, who used special methods, how could Feng Ge be so loyal to him? Yi Qing Luo looked at Feng Liqiong's slightly gloomy, handsome face as a sliver of fury gathered in her eyes. She guessed that he might be thinking about how Feng Ge had risked her life for love. He wanted to get rid of the thorn in Feng Liqiong's heart. It seemed that it would take a long time. Before that, where was she going to find her lover? To be honest, she wanted to see the person in her heart more than anyone else. Her Xian had disappeared for a long time. She remembered. Uncle Bowen had said that before. Xian should be investigating something in the God realm. She had been kidnapped to the divine realm. A few days ago, the deaths of the 5 nobles had caused a huge uproar. Xian should also know that she was here. Today, they were holding a banquet to recognize him. It could be said that there was no one in the God realm who did not know of her name, Feng Qing Luo. If Xian heard this name, he should be here to look for her. Could it be that Xian had met with some danger? It was fine if he didn't think about it. Thinking about it The longing which had been suppressed in her heart gushed out like a tidal wave. Her slender fingers clenched tightly, thinking of going to the backyard to look for Uncle Bone and ask him about DMO Xian's whereabouts. Just at this moment, a noble and cold voice rang faintly from the sky. "I am her sweetheart." Chapter 48-46. This sentence resounded through the entire Feng family's courtyard and instantly attracted everyone's attention. Pairs of eyes all focused on that. At the most corner of the banquet, a figure covered in flames and blood slowly stood up. His red robe was like a blazing fire, flickering with brilliant light. A head of ink-black hair was fixed by a simple but luxurious jade crown. When that man raised his head, his cold and solemn face was exposed to everyone's eyes. Pitch-black eyes like a whirlpool emitting a chilly aura. His body moved slightly. He had already turned into a red arc passing through mid-air, landed in front of Yi Qing Luo. Slender arms directly wrapped around Yi Qing Luo's shoulders, like a fiery red robe, contrasted with the young lady's blazing long dress. Actually made the both of them dazzling. Red, clear pavilion. Pavilion master? Someone recognized that man's appearance and immediately stood up in shock. A soft call immediately caused numerous people to exclaim. One by one, they looked at that cold-faced man in astonishment. Red, clear pavilion. That mysterious force that shuttled through the upper realms. Although they heard, Red, clear pavilion master was someone from the heaven realm, but he was able to make the god realm completely unable to grasp him. It was as if the head of a dragon was nowhere to be seen. Unexpectedly, the pavilion master of Red Clear Pavilion actually appeared at the Feng family's reunion banquet, and Red Clear Pavilion master even self-exposed that he was Miss Feng's sweetheart. Not only the surrounding guests were in disbelief, even Feng family's patriarch and Feng Liqiong were stunned. Little Luo, your sweetheart? Feng family's patriarch asked in disbelief. Impossible. Feng Liqiong frowned. Red Clear Pavilion master and Little Luo have no interaction. How could he possibly be Little Luo's sweetheart? If Little Luo's sweetheart, he is obviously at the banquet. Why hasn't he appeared? His gaze was like a torch, bringing out the prestige of the acting god emperor, majestically staring at this expressionless, cold-faced man in front of him. Red Clear Pavilion master. This existence that even the god realm had a headache. He had been the acting god emperor for so many years. He had yet to see this so-called Red Clear Pavilion master. The current Yi Qing Luo had a dazed look on her face. She didn't expect this at all. Zhu Wuxin had actually appeared here. Yes, Zhu Wuxin. This person who had suddenly rushed to her side was precisely the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion, Zhu Wuxin. Why are you here? Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she stretched out her hand to push Zhu Wuxian. The man slightly lowered his cold eyes. His pupils were as deep as ink, reflecting the young girl's enchanting and flirtatious appearance. His arm exerted more strength to stop Yi Qing Luo from struggling. If you don't want to marry that kid, then don't move. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased even more tightly. Grabbing Zhu Wuxian's arm, she exerted force and broke free from his embrace. In the young girl's eyes, there was obvious displeasure. She hated his touch. She did not want her body to be tainted by his scent. Zhu Wuxin's eyes dimmed little by little. It was like the light of hope was extinguished bit by bit. Little Luo, what is going on? Feng Liqiong naturally could tell that the atmosphere between Yi Qing Luo and Zhu Wuxian wasn't the kind of sweet lovers. Yi Qing Luo's expression obviously wasn't very good. She's throwing a tantrum with me. Zhu Wuxian spoke in a serious tone with an expressionless face. She's blaming me for not coming to look for her for such a long time. Following that, he looked towards Feng family's patriarch as his expression turned slightly gentler. I hope Patriarch Feng can forgive me for not paying a visit for such a long time. Chapter 48-47. Patriarch Feng's expression was strange as he didn't know how to answer Zhu Wuxian's question. He only shot a puzzled look at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo shook her head at Patriarch Feng. I have nothing to do with him. Qing Luo. Zhu Wuxian sighed softly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo with an obvious pampering and helplessness. I know. I made you angry. That gentleness and pampering, along with that cold face, that chilly temperament. It totally didn't match. But this made everyone feel that Zhu Wuxian's words were true. If it wasn't for the fact that he truly loved her to the bone, the aloof, cold, and emotionless him, how could he possibly show such a pampering and gentle gaze toward a lady? After all, everyone present had heard of the reputation of the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Yiqing Luo patted the place where Zhu Wuxian had hugged earlier. Her enchanting face was slowly covered with coldness. Her gaze towards Zhu Wuxian was very cold. There wasn't a single bit of emotion. Young Master Chu, my adoptive father disregarded my wishes and announced my marriage in public. Now, you want to ruin my reputation as well, don't you? That cold gaze, as though a sharp knife had pierced into Zhu Wuxian's heart. Obviously, his appearance could have helped her block this inexplicable engagement. Obviously, as long as she cooperated, she would be able to spoil Feng Liqiang's scheme. But Yiqing Luo didn't hesitate at all. She chose to reject, because she didn't want to have anything to do with him, even if it was just to cooperate and avoid the current predicament. She wasn't willing, being stared at by Zhu Wuxian without blinking. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Zhu Wuxian's pitch-black pupils were filled with sadness, so sad that it made one feel heartache. Her pink lips pursed tightly as she didn't look at Zhu Wuxian. Her eyes were calm as she looked towards Feng Liqiang. Godfather, this farce should end, right? Feng Liqiang hadn't even opened her mouth. The man in the fiery red robe walked swiftly to Feng Liqiang and blocked Yiqing Luo's gaze. He gazed at Feng Liqiang as every single word was calm and clear. Acting God Emperor, I, Zhu Wuxian, am pleased. His words were sincere and earnest. She wasn't shy at all. Then his cold eyes glanced at Feng Zhangqing. In terms of family background, appearance, and talent, I, Zhu Wuxian, am superior to Feng Zhangqing in every aspect. Acting Divine Emperor, why don't you consider me? Feng Liqiang frowned. He didn't know how to reject her. He favored Feng Zhangqing. It was only because Feng Zhangqing was his disciple. It was easy to control Yiqing Luo. However, if he rejected Zhu Wuxian and chose Feng Zhangqing instead, it was another form of confirmation that the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master was inferior to his disciple. He was afraid that it would cause a lot of controversy. Rejection is not. Neither rejection nor rejection. He hesitated for a moment before saying, but I heard from little Luo that she has no feelings for you. She has no intentions towards Feng Zhangqing. Zhu Wuxian replied indifferently. I've known Qing Luo for a long time. She will like me. Feng Liqiang choked. He didn't know what to say. Hey, you like Miss Qing Luo? I also like Miss Qing Luo. Since you want to compete, then I also want to compete. Ji Wuhua saw that there was an opportunity, so how could he let it go? The three men stood in a triangular formation. There was a shapeless airflow that lingered between the three of them. Feng Liqiang, who was standing nearer, couldn't help but took 2 steps back. Have you guys had enough? Yiqing Luo couldn't take it anymore as she stared at the men standing in a triangular formation. This is my acknowledgement banquet, not a place for you to mess around. Chapter 48:48. Fight. Fight my ass. No matter how they fought, it wouldn't be theirs. Yiqing Luo's brows sunk as her vision fell on Feng Liqiang first. Godfather, I respect you as an elder, but no one can tell me what to do in my future. Following that, her vision shifted towards Feng Zhangqing. And you, since you have no interest in me, why did you agree to this? Do you feel that I'm filial and listen to my master? Then have you ever thought that you have no interest in me and I have no interest in you? This kind of future. What's the meaning? She paused slightly as her vision fixed on Ji Wuhua. There's a possibility that you might even lose your best brother. Is this really what you want? Feng Zhangqing's pupils constricted abruptly. A trace of pain flashed past his gentle face. Right. Ji Wuhua immediately raised his arm. You're a heartless man who deserves to be cut into 1,000 pieces. You really hurt my heart. You obviously know that Miss Qing Luo is my goddess, but you actually agreed to the acting god emperor's request. Shut up. Yi Qing Luo stared at him. You're the most reckless one. Whoever you meet, you're the womanizer. You still have the face to come here to create trouble. Ji Wuhua's earlier valiant and high-spirited attitude as he clamored at Feng Zhongqing instantly softened. He was totally stunned. I'm sincere. He felt wronged. How was he a womanizer? He was just a philanthropist. Towards every beauty, he treated them sincerely. Moreover, every beauty followed him willingly. Who asked him to be so good-looking? How could this be considered as womanizer? Ji Wuhua was indignant. Yi Qing Luo saw through Ji Wuhua's thoughts with just one look as she gave a fake smile, which didn't reach her eyes. This fellow was a total scumbag. So thoroughly scumbag. And he even licked his face to show that he was sincere. Sincere, my foot. He was a peacock, very bad. Yi Qing Luo couldn't even be bothered to ridicule him as her vision directly turned towards Zhu Wu Exin. Lastly, is you. The moment the young lady's gaze fell onto him, the man's icy cold eyes surfaced a trace of gentleness. His entire body tensed up as he straightened his back. Like nervousness. It was rare for the girl to look him in the eye. It was a joy that came from the bottom of his heart, from his eyes. He couldn't conceal his love for Yi Qing Luo. Such deep love. However, it did not move the young girl. Instead, the frown on the young lady's face deepened. Chu Wuxin's obsession and deep feelings for her were ingrained in his bones. She really did not know how to face it. Time and time again, he made things clear. However, she still couldn't stop this man from appearing in front of her. As for Zhu Wuxin, Yi Qing Luo's feelings were complicated. This feeling had nothing to do with the feelings between a man and a woman. It was just pure heartache for Zhu Wuxin. For the time being, it should be called heartache. Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath and suppressed the excess emotions. Her face turned cold as she said indifferently, "Young Master Chu, I've already said what I need to say very clearly. Do you know that your pestering will only make me very annoyed?" The girl's clear voice was as cold as a knife, piercing straight into people's hearts. Zhu Wuxian's face suddenly turned pale. Yi Qing Luo's voice wasn't considered loud, but Feng Liqiong and Patriarch Feng, who were at a close distance, heard it clearly. After hearing the young lady's heartless words, both of their expressions changed slightly. Although Zhu Wuxian's identity was just a powerhouse that belonged to the Heaven Realm. Chapter 48-49. But in reality, the strength of the Red Clarity Pavilion had long since reached the level where they could roam freely in the God Realm. Even the nobles of the immortal world, they had to give the Red Clear Pavilion some face. Many people wanted to send their daughters to the Red Clearness Pavilion. But Yi Qing Luo's words revealed a very obvious message. Chu Wuxian loved Yi Qing Luo deeply. His words and actions were completely different from his image of humbleness. As for Yi Qing Luo, she had no intentions toward Zhu Wuxian. Moreover, he was extremely disgusted. The atmosphere between the two of them was very strange. The sorrow in Chu Wuxin's eyes deepened. His thin lips moved as if he wanted to say something. Feng Family Master had already coughed violently, interrupting this weird atmosphere. After that, he pulled Yi Qing Luo's hand and eased the atmosphere. What little Luo said is right. Today is little Luo's reunion banquet, and it's a good day, so don't make the atmosphere too stiff. Zhu Wuxian swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Feng Clanlord glared at Feng Liqiong. All right, stop messing around. This is your precious adopted daughter. If you force Xiao Luo away, let's see how you regret it. Feng Liqiong snorted coldly. Is that so? Why don't you take a look? Feng Liqiong. This was the first time in so many years that Patriarch Feng called out Feng Liqiong's name. Do you believe that I won't beat you to death? Feng Liqiong flicked her sleeves and sat down on a nearby chair. Do whatever you want. My adopted daughter doesn't listen to me anyway, so do whatever you want. There was a moment of awkwardness in the scene. They witnessed this farcical scene. Everyone was embarrassed. He couldn't understand what was going on with his family. So people were guessing. This adopted daughter, named Feng Qing Luo, was actually not wanted by the acting god emperor. It was Patriarch Feng who forced the acting Shen Huang to recognize this adopted daughter. Was that why there was such a scene today? However, even if that was all, she was doted on by Patriarch Feng. No matter how much the acting god emperor disliked it, this young lady of the Feng family had a high status in the Feng family. He just didn't know just what was the background of this Miss Feng. I didn't come to the Feng family to listen to us and do things according to our requirements. The Feng clan's patriarch said in a low voice, "Whatever she wants to do, so long as it's within a reasonable scope, I'll support her unconditionally. As her foster father, you should do the same." He looked at Yi Qing Luo. "Little Luo, don't listen to your godfather. That's nonsense. Whatever you're not willing to do, grandfather will absolutely not let you do it." Feng clan master's words. This had basically established Yi Qing Luo's position in the god realm. The acting god emperor's face didn't look too good, but it also obviously acquiesced to what Patriarch Feng said. That kind of pampering, that kind of protective. It caused Hong Mei, who was hiding in the crowd, to be filled with hatred. She was filled with indignation and resentment. He felt that it was very unfair. Look at Yi Qing Luo, not giving the acting god emperor any face, rebutting his words. What happened? With Patriarch Feng's unconditional protection, that kind of pampering and protecting, it made the young girl look like a high and mighty princess, proud and noble. As for her, just because she had offended Yi Qing Luo, she was pushed by her own parents to the person she hated the most, to be subservient. Even her beloved husband had not spoken a word for her. And when Yi Qing Luo was engaged, he rushed up to express his feelings. But her? Why didn't she have anyone to protect her? Chapter 4850. Hong Mei bit her lower lip tightly. Her face was covered with a layer of jealousy. She clenched her fists, lowered her head, and her face was extremely distorted. If she was the granddaughter who was loved and pampered by the Feng family's patriarch, she would be more like a princess than Yi Qing Luo. Why? Heavens were so unfair. Looking at the direction of the main seat, that joyful and harmonious scene, Hong Mei was so angry that her liver was hurting. She felt that she was about to be unable to suppress the jealousy in her heart. She suddenly got up from her seat and said softly, "My stomach is not feeling well. Please excuse me for a while." Saying that, she didn't wait for Jiang. The sure couple replied and hurriedly walked towards the other side. At this moment, everyone's sight was gathered on the main seat, watching this wonderful show, and they didn't notice Hong Mei's departure. But Yi Qing Luo, who was far away at the main seat, just a glance, and she could see the entire banquet clearly. Naturally, she saw Hong Mei's back view, which left in anger. She held Feng family's patriarch's arm and sat down. Her long and narrow eyes squinted slightly, but it didn't show on her face. She just tilted her head and whispered a few words to Granny Feng. Granny Feng was stunned for a moment, took a look at the direction where Hong Mei left, and immediately nodded solemnly. Yes, young Mississippi Feng family's patriarch saw Granny Feng left. His wrinkled hand lightly patted the back of the young lady's hand. "What's the matter?" Yi Qing Luo shook her head. "Nothing much. Just made a few snacks and placed them in the room you asked me to wait for." "You're so considerate." Feng family's patriarch's smile grew wider. Just now some interlude. It didn't affect his mood. The banquet continued. Feng family's patriarch looked at Zhu Wuxan, who was sitting at the corner, holding a wine glass in his hand, staring at Yi Qing Luo with an expressionless face. Finally, he couldn't hold back the doubts in his heart. "Little Luo, how did you get to know the red clear pavilion lord?" Considered, no discord, no concord. Yi Qing Luo thought for a while and said, "I casually saved him once when I was young, and he remembered it till now. Life-saving grace." Feng family's patriarch coughed lightly. As the saying goes, life-saving grace, there's no way to repay it, so you can only repay it with your body. Looks like the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master is also giving his heart to you, in order to repay a debt of gratitude. Yiqing Luo, what the F***ck do you mean by pledging yourself to him? Grandfather can tell that not only do you not like the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion, but you are also troubled, right? Feng family master sighed lightly. The Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master looks extraordinary. His strength is extraordinary, and his status is also extraordinary. Why would little Luo reject him? He could tell. Zhu Wuxian really liked their Xiao Luo. His Xiao Luo was indeed a beauty. Moreover, she was a rare and good woman. But what kind of woman had he not seen before for a man with the status of the Red Clarity Pavilion Master? Why did he only love his Xiao Luo? Most importantly, his family Xiao Luo didn't even think highly of Hongqing Pavilion's Pavilion Master. Is little Luo's lover better than the Hongqing Pavilion's Pavilion Master? Feng family master couldn't help but be curious about what kind of person his future grandson-in-law was. To be able to make his Xiao Luo love and protect him so unwaveringly towards Yiqing Luo's extraordinary intelligence. He was not worried, but Feng family's patriarch was afraid that Yiqing Luo would walk on Feng Ji's old path. So many outstanding cultivators looked down on her, but she chose a man who popped out from nowhere, wholeheartedly, unswervingly devoted. In the end, it caused the biggest tragedy in her life. Chapter 48-51. The Current Yiqing Luo. 8 Read Book. 2. In Fengge was indeed somewhat similar. She wholeheartedly believed in a man. As for other people, he would never take a fancy to them. Yes. Yiqing Luo smiled at Feng family's patriarch with curved eyes. The gentleness in her eyes made her enchanting face look much gentler. She knew that her grandfather was worried about her. He also knew what his grandfather was worried about. She held Master Feng's hand with both hands. Is better than anyone. And the most important thing is the smile on her lips deepened as she said slowly and firmly, "He loves me more than anyone else." Feng Clan Master was amused by the serious and solemn face of the girl. He poked the girl's forehead and said, "How can there be a girl as unreserved as you? You're not even married yet, but you're already speaking up for him." 8 yen read yen books. 2 is not equal to. Yiqing Luo's face didn't blush, nor did her heart skip a beat. She didn't have the slightest shyness, because what I said is the truth. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You love him, so in your eyes, everything about him is good. Feng Liqiong laughed coldly. Back then, Big Sister said that the beast was truly in love with her, but what happened in the end? Love? Once a woman falls into the land of love, it was completely blind. What did he say? He loves her more than anyone else. In the end, it was merely Yiqing Luo who thought herself infallible. Since you refused to accept my arrangement to get engaged to Chongqing, why don't you choose the head of the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion? Feng Liqiong crossed her arms and leaned back in her chair. At least for now, it seems that this Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master really values you. Stinking brat. Feng family head grabbed the wine cup and smashed it on Feng Liqiong. Even food can't shut your mouth? Do you want me to let little Luo poison you again to calm you down? Feng Liqiong reached out to take the wine cup and said nonchalantly, "Honest advice grates on the ear. I'm just worried about little Luo. That's why I'm giving her this advice. Little uncle, why don't we make a bet?" Yiqing Luo stopped Feng family's patriarch from throwing the wine cup and smiled at Feng Liqiong. Bet? Feng Liqiong recalled the earlier scene between Yiqing Luo and Hong Mei as she sneered, "Do you think that I'm as dumb as that Jiang family idiot? So, little uncle is certain that he will lose?" Yiqing Luo chuckled. Feng Liqiong's handsome face twitched as he spat out. "How do you want to bet? Little uncle, do you think that I'm being presumptuous about my feelings for the person I love?" Yiqing Luo beamed. "Then let's bet on the sincerity of the person whom I love. How about that? What are the stakes?" Feng Liqiong sneered. Yiqing Luo tilted her head. "If he is really like what I said, that he loves me more than himself, and is absolutely outstanding enough to satisfy you, little uncle will forget about the ill feelings towards mother. How about that?" Feng Liqiang's eyes widened. A sharp light covered his eyes. Feng family matriarch pulled Yi Qing Luo back. It's enough to satisfy grandfather. There's no need to satisfy him. If he continues to pick faults and act shamelessly, how long will this bet last? Yi Qing Luo smiled brightly and confidently. He is absolutely outstanding. Little uncle will not be able to pick out any faults. Feng Liqiang sarcastically tugged her lower lip and stared straight at Yi Qing Luo, so confident. Yes. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Little uncle, do you dare bet? All right. Feng Liqiang's smile turned cold. If I don't approve of that person, you agree to marry Chongqing. Chapter 48:52. Feng Liqiang. Feng family patriarch slammed the table fiercely. You can arrange any marriage for my precious little Luo. If you do, I'll marry you off. This slap on the table. Instantly, the entire noisy banquet quieted down. Each of them stared at Feng family patriarch quietly, shivering. When they heard Feng family patriarch's roar, all of them were speechless. Marry the acting god emperor off? Did Feng family patriarch want to drive the acting god emperor out of the Feng family and let him marry into the family? It looked like Feng family patriarch really doted on this Miss Feng. However, the acting god emperor didn't seem to like this Miss Feng very much. As expected, Miss Feng was the adopted daughter that Feng family patriarch forced the acting god emperor to acknowledge. The noble circle was really messy. They didn't dare to say it, and they didn't dare to ask. 8. Read book. 2. It was better to hug herself tightly and shiver. Everyone's mind was filled with rich imagination, and the main character who was roared at had a slight change in expression. But very quickly, his expression revealed a trace of ridicule. He didn't answer Feng family patriarch, but looked at Yi Qing Luo. Why? Don't dare? Feng family patriarch was so angry that he grabbed the things on the table and threw them away. Yi Qing Luo pressed Feng family patriarch's arm. Her long and narrow eyes were glistening. Her pink lips curled up slightly, looking bright and confident. Sure, little Luo. Feng family patriarch held Yi Qing Luo's wrist tightly. If he doesn't want to, he will think of ways to make things difficult for you. Grandfather, believe me. Yi Qing Luo smiled gently. Her gaze was firm. And believe in my foresight. Feng family patriarch frowned, but looking at his granddaughter's unwavering gaze, he sighed and said, Grandpa will be on your side. Yi Qing Luo smiled, I know. She shifted her gaze towards Feng Liqiang. Her beautiful eyes rippled. Godfather, don't forget the agreement with me. This is the first agreement between the two of us. Feng Liqiang's pupils constricted for a moment. Immediately, she snorted softly and looked away. If I'm here, I'm afraid Father won't be able to hold a proper reunion party for little Luo. He said, I've been resting in bed for a few days. I still have a lot of work to do, so I'll go to the Divine Emperor Palace first. After that, he didn't wait for Patriarch Feng's answer. Then he strode away. Feng family master was furious. Feng Liqiang ran to the banquet hall and wandered around for a bit before leaving. To put it nicely, it was because he valued his adopted daughter, and as soon as he recovered, he rushed to the banquet to accompany his adopted daughter. To put it bluntly, it was the truth. Feng Liqiang had purposely come here to cause trouble. What a scene. Making everyone speculate about Yi Qing Luo. He guessed that Feng Liqiang and Miss Feng didn't get along at all. He guessed that Feng Liqiang simply didn't want to acknowledge her as her adopted daughter. It made everyone feel that eldest young Miss Feng Qing Luo's name in the Feng family wasn't proper and it didn't sound right. Feng clan master sat down heavily. If he had acted a little more like he was on Feng Liqiang's side just now, he was afraid that the entire God realm wouldn't put eldest young Miss Feng in their eyes. Grandfather, don't be angry. Yi Qing Luo comforted him. If you get sick from anger, who's going to protect me? She intimately leaned her head on Feng clan master's shoulder. I don't care what others think. No matter what they think, I'm still eldest young miss of the Feng family. Grandfather's granddaughter, they won't dare to do anything to me. Feng clan master was pacified by Yi Qing Luo to the point of helplessness and heartache. If that kid was half as worry-free as you, I wouldn't be so angry. Chapter 48:53. Uncle just has some resentment in his heart. Yi Ching Luo smiled. Grandfather, don't need to worry too much. If I didn't have the confidence, I wouldn't have suggested this bet. If Feng Li Qiong still cared about Feng Ge, the winner would definitely be her. I do have confidence in you, but as for that lad. Feng family's patriarch sighed and looked at Yi Ching Luo solemnly. Little Luo, no matter what that lad wants to do, as long as you're not willing, grandfather will definitely stand on your side. Yi Ching Luo nodded smilingly. I know, the person grandfather dotes on the most is me. Miss Ching Luo. A resentful voice was heard from his side. Yi Ching Luo just turned her head over. She met with a pair of resentful eyes. That pair of demonic phoenix eyes were filled with grievance, and intentionally blinked to act cute. That grievance and resentment were displayed vividly. Yi Ching Luo. Ji Wuhua, be more normal. You could imagine. A man who could be described as beautiful was wearing a pink robe covered in horse fleas and had a resentful and aggrieved expression on his face. Yi Ching Luo accepted her incompetence. She simply wanted to give Ji Wuhua's artificial face a tight slap. Little Luo doesn't have me in her eyes. I feel terrible. Ji Wuhua pursed his lips. What if you lose that bet? Are you really going to marry Chongqing? He stared at Feng Chongqing hatefully, as though he was looking at his enemy who stole his wife. Following that, he covered his face. If only I was the acting god emperor's disciple. I also want to bring Miss Ching Luo home. Yi Ching Luo controlled the urge to smash the wooden chopsticks in her hand towards Ji Wuhua's mouth. I have never lost a bet. I'm really curious. Is the man in Miss Ching Luo's heart really that good? Ji Wuhua's face was filled with doubt. As the saying goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Miss Ching Luo, aren't you thinking too highly of your sweetheart? After Ji Wuhua asked this question, the few people on the main seat all looked towards Yi Ching Luo. Apparently, they were all very interested in Yi Ching Luo's so-called sweetheart. Feng Clan Master's eyes were also filled with worry. She was also worried that because of the reason why beauty was in the eye of the beholder, it caused Yi Ching Luo to overestimate her beloved. What he was more worried about was the current Yi Ching Luo, her unwavering trust towards her beloved without any reason. He was too similar to Feng Ge in the past. The tragedy of Feng Ge. He didn't wish for Yi Ching Luo to repeat the same thing. But when he saw Yi Ching Luo mentioning her sweetheart, Ming Yao's charming eyes were overflowing with light. It deeply poked the heart of Feng Clan Mistress. No matter how many instructions and helplessness he had, he swallowed all of them into his stomach. He did not want to hurt his precious grandson's heart. Yi Ching Luo naturally understood the reason why her grandfather was worried. Her pink lips curled up slightly. It's really good. Perhaps it won't be long before he comes looking for me. After today's reunion banquet, as long as DMO Xian was still in the God realm, he would definitely come looking for her. Don't tell me he's even better looking than me? Ji Wuhua touched his own face as he asked unwillingly. Yi Ching Luo's eyes curved in a crescent as she replied honestly. His looks are enough to turn all living things upside down. I'm head over heels in love with that peerless face of his. Ji Wuhua's eyes instantly widened. I don't believe it. How could there be a man who is better looking than him in this world? Cough. Although Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhu Wuxin, looked rather good looking. Compared to him, he was just a little bit weaker. Chapter 48:54. He absolutely didn't believe it. How could there be a man who could match his face? It doesn't matter how he looks like. Feng family patriarch interrupted Ji Wuhua's nonsense. The most important thing is his ability, character, and background, and most importantly, does he treat you well? Yi Ching Luo smiled and asked in reply, love me more than yourself, even giving me your life, is that considered good to me? Feng family patriarch's pupils shrank slightly. He held Yi Ching Luo's hand tightly. Grandfather believes in your foresight. I hope to see him soon. And then, let you win the bet with that kid. Very soon, you'll be able to see him. Yi Qing Luo nodded. I will win. Ji muttered softly. I can also give my life to you. But no one bothered about his nagging. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes slightly. Feng Liqiang's resentment towards Feng Ge. This was the only way to get rid of it. She knew. What Feng Liqiang had done to her was nothing more than a small fuss. She just wanted to vent her discomfort in her heart. Although Feng Liqiang wanted to vent her resentment towards Feng Ge on her. But she would never let her marry someone she didn't like. Otherwise, Feng Liqiang would not specially choose someone who listened to her orders, but actually didn't like her. If Feng Liqiang really wanted to do something to her marriage, she would directly drag Ji Wuhua into it. This marriage would definitely become more complicated and more difficult to deal with. Yi Qing Luo's slender fingers gently caressed the dark red ring on her knuckles. The rippling red flowing light outlined a lifelike phoenix. She lightly hooked her lower lip. So, Xian, you have a heavy mission. If you're in the God realm, then come and find me quickly. She held the profound phoenix ring. Her lips curled into a smile. Her gentle expression reflected in Feng family patriarch's eyes. Feng family patriarch sighed softly. On the other side, Ji Wuhua jumped from the topic of fighting for Yi Qing Luo to the topic of Feng Liqiang. At this moment, she was tugging at Feng Chongqing and asking, Chongqing, you heartless man? The head of the Feng clan wants to marry off the acting divine emperor, which means that he will marry into another clan. Will you marry off with the acting divine emperor? Feng Chongqing. That's simply impossible, okay? How could a man marry? How could the acting god emperor marry into the emperor's family? If you were to marry over with the acting god emperor, then wouldn't I be able to take advantage of the situation and replace you to get engaged to Miss Qing Luo? Ji Wuhua's eyes lit up. Feng Zhongxing grabbed a piece of pastry and stuffed it into his mouth. The acting emperor won't marry into the family, and I won't marry into the family either. Don't let your imagination run wild. The two of them were just having a simple conversation. To be more precise, it was just Ji Wuhua's own imagination. Yi Qing Luo suddenly thought of something as she tilted her head to look at Patriarch Feng. Grandfather, little uncle isn't married yet. No. Feng clan master shook his head. Feng Ji's matter is too big a blow to him. He doesn't believe in feelings at all. Yi Qing Luo was stunned. Then what about Feng Shi? Feng Shi was only 5 or 6 years old. She had always thought that Feng Shi was little uncle's child. But little uncle wasn't married yet. What was Feng Shi's identity? CC. Feng clan master's expression changed slightly. He's that kid's child, his biological child. Yi Qing Luo was stunned once again. Not married, but already had a child. Based on Feng Liqiang's attitude towards love, then what about Cece's mother? Chapter 48:55. Feng Liqiang didn't believe in women and love. Such a person could have her own biological son? Then the one who got hurt would definitely be the woman. As expected, when Feng Shi's mother was mentioned, Feng family's patriarch's expression changed a little. His eyes were filled with melancholy. He sighed softly. Cece, it was just an accident. Accident? Yi Qing Luo was puzzled. Why did you say it was an accident? Because even that kid doesn't know who Cece's biological mother is. Feng family's patriarch looked at Feng, she who was playing around with the maids. He gave a simple explanation of the situation, which was Feng Liqiang fell into an accident and was schemed against. Feng Liqiang stayed awake and quickly escaped from the place where he was schemed against. But he broke into another room. And then, it was the next morning. When Feng Liqiang woke up, he was the only one in the room, as well as a symbol of a woman's purity and a tassel hairpin. After that, Feng Liqiang flew into a rage and settled the forces who schemed against him with a thunderous force. The mermaid's trip to the supernatural island. He also sent people to look for the woman in that room. Of course, Feng Liqiang didn't look for that woman to take responsibility, but he felt that the woman was in cahoots with the forces who schemed against him. He wanted to find the person and kill them all. But no matter how he searched the entire God realm, he couldn't find that woman. After that, this matter slowly faded away. Feng Liqiang had long forgotten what happened that night. After listening to her grandfather's story, Yi-Ching Luo was speechless. What kind of godly plot development was this? It was simply melodramatic to the extreme. She felt like she was watching overbearing President falls in love with me. She didn't expect her uncle to have such a melodramatic experience. Yi-Ching Luo suppressed the ridicule in her heart and continued to ask, "Then what happened to Cece?" Feng family's patriarch's gaze gradually drifted as he fell into memories. It was a few years ago when Granny Feng heard a baby crying outside the Feng residence. Generally speaking, no one dared to let a baby out of the Feng residence. The Feng residents wouldn't take it in or find a good place for it. But it happened. Not only did Master Feng not leave the baby, but she also took the initiative to rush to the door and held him in her arms. Because there was a thumb ring on the baby's body. Sword Chi Cloud Pavilion. It was a jade-white jade thumb ring carved with an exquisite totem. It was a thumb ring with the word Feng engraved inside. This thumb ring belonged to Feng Liqiang. This thumb ring was the one Feng Liqiang had lost the night she was schemed against. Patriarch Feng brought the infant back to the Feng mansion. Of course, Patriarch Feng would not believe that this baby had anything to do with Feng Liqiang. After all, thousands of years had passed. Even if the woman that night was really pregnant, it was impossible for it to be a baby. Carry it back. He just wanted to know, what was the other party's motive? However, he still had his doubts. In the end, Patriarch Feng used a spell to verify the relationship between the baby and Feng Liqiang. The infant was indeed Feng Liqiang's son. The same blood flowing in his veins was his biological son. This result, it shocked everyone in the Feng family. Feng Liqiang did not believe it at all. She was certain that this was all part of the enemy's plan, to make a move on the Feng family. However, the result of Patriarch Feng's spell was an indisputable fact. Feng Liqiang was unwilling to admit it, but she couldn't deny this blood relationship. Patriarch Feng raised him in the Feng residence. Friends who are reading, you can search for Blue, and you'll be able to find this site in the first instance. Waste 7th Young Miss. Overlord, be gentle with your love. Chapter 4856. Feng Liqiang seldom returned to the Feng residence. She had been living in the Feng residence with the identity of a young master. Feng Liqiang had spent a lot of manpower and resources on the mystery of Feng Shi's birth, but to no avail. No matter why she only appeared in the Feng residence in the form of a baby after 1,000 years. She was also the blood of the Feng family. This was undeniable. They could only wait quietly. Feng Shi's birth mother, or perhaps the person behind the scenes, would show up to know the real purpose of this. So that's how it is. Yi-Ching Luo looked at the smiling little dumpling who was playing around with some heartache. That face that was carved out of jade, and that pair of eyes that were like the stars. Extremely cute. Indeed, he looked very much like his youngest uncle. When he grew up, he would look even more alike. No matter how she looked at it, he was her uncle's child. Yi-Ching Luo laughed lightly. Cece has grandfather to love him, and now he has me to love him. He will definitely grow up well. Feng family patriarch's melancholy expression suddenly faded. Yes, Cece still has you as a sister now. He seemed to be sighing. Cece, that child, actually doesn't like to get along with others, and can't play with other royal family or noble children. He is not willing to open his heart and accept other children's kindness. Perhaps it's because Cece knows that he's a child without a mother and that his father doesn't like him. So, he feels self-loathing and thinks that his existence is hateful, so his father and mother don't want him. Feng family patriarch's tone was full of heartache. Not willing to open his heart? Self-loathing? Did Feng Shi look like such a child? The Feng Shi she saw was sunny and cute, like a little angel who could melt people's hearts. Like now, Feng Shi was scurrying around among the guests. Her face was full of smiles, and she looked very happy. And the little master who attended the banquet with the elders, he responded with a flowery smile when the young ladies talked to him. How is he like the autistic child described by her grandfather? That's because he treats you differently. Feng family's master smiled gently. Even her always solemn face showed a bit of softness. He likes you. Maybe this is the induction of family affection. Yi-Ching Luo picked up a piece of soft pastry and passed it to Patriarch Feng's mouth. In the future, with me around, Cece will definitely be as cheerful and lively as today. Just as he was speaking, Granny Feng had already returned. Yiqing Luo found an excuse to leave. Where did Jiang Hongmei go? She asked Feng. Puh. Granny Feng lowered her voice and said, Miss Jiang seems to be in a bad mood and very angry. She has been very irritable along the way. She would scold all the maids she met on the way. After that, she went to the garden and threw stones into the pond. This old servant watched from the side for a while and heard her scolding young miss while venting her emotions. Granny Feng's voice sounded a little careful as she looked at Yiqing Luo's expression. Seeing that there was no change in Yiqing Luo's expression, she continued, This old servant watched for a while and saw that Miss Jiang seemed to be in a bad mood and wanted to vent her emotions, so I left someone to wait there. This old servant came back to report to young Mississippi. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Was it that simple? She had thought that Hong Mei was playing some other tricks. But based on the bet between her and Hong Mei, if Hong Mei had any brains, she wouldn't create any trouble at this juncture. Chapter 48:57. The bet between them. The bet was whether Hong Mei would be chased out of the Feng family. Hong Mei was now protected by Feng Liqiang. If she were to do anything out of line, even if Feng Liqiang appeared again, there was no way to save her. So, if Hong Mei wanted to stay in the Feng residence and survive the reunion banquet, then there was only quiet as a chicken, sitting there obediently as a backdrop. Yiqing Luo thought that Hong Mei was a brainless woman. Leaving the banquet quietly, she must be trying to stir up trouble again. TSK overestimated Hong Mei. That's right, birds of a feather flock together. To be able to fall in love with Ji Wuhua, that idiot, what brains could she have? Yiqing Luo took a look at her grandfather, who was surrounded by various aristocrats, to toast and congratulate him. She thought for a moment and looked at Grandma Feng. Look after grandfather, don't let him drink too much. I'll go to the garden to take a look. Grandma Feng nodded. Yes, eldest Mississippi. Following the banquet, she walked all the way forward, past the huge flower bed, past the luxuriant trees. Yiqing Luo arrived at the lotus pond, which was about 50 meters away from the banquet. He scanned his surroundings, but did not see Hong Mei's figure. Where was she? Why didn't she see her? She just walked all the way here, and she didn't see Hong Mei returning to the banquet. But here, there was no sign of Hong Mei. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she surveyed the surroundings. Until she came to a pond, which was very close to the pavilion, she saw a few pieces of broken stones and footprints. It seemed that Grandma Feng mentioned Hong Mei venting her emotions by the pond was here. Could it be that she went somewhere else? This Feng family's courtyard seemed to only have this garden as the place for today's banquet. It was also the place where the guests could move freely. But leaving the garden, that was an offense to the Feng residents. Hong Mei should not have left the garden, unless she ran away by herself to avoid the bet between them. So she quietly left the Feng residence. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo's eyes congealed as her vision fell onto the pavilion not too far away. A cold glint flashed across her long and narrow eyes. She strode towards the pavilion. Her gaze was vigilant as she stared at the pavilion. There was no mistaking it. This was the Yin Shi of the Gloomy Palace. People from the Palace of Gloomy Darkness had appeared here. The Palace of Gloomy Darkness would indeed take action. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as her vision slowly swept past those few stones by the side of the pond. The sinister aura of the Tenebrous Palace was not weak. It was obvious that he had just left not long ago. In other words, it was very likely that Red Plum had met with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. With the sinister temperament of a Netherworld palace, the Palace of Gloomy Darkness would definitely make use of Hong Mei's jealousy. Oh no, something happened at the reunion banquet. Yiqing Luo's expression sunk as she immediately turned around and headed back towards the direction of the reunion banquet. She was extremely fast. When he came, he strolled leisurely in the courtyard. When he turned back, he was as fast as lightning. When he rushed to the banquet, She had only left for a short period of time. The clamorous reunion banquet was now in a state of chaos. Many guests were running around in a mess. It seemed to be searching for something. His face was filled with anxiety. Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. He didn't see Hong Mei anywhere. Young Miss Granny Feng saw Yiqing Luo and immediately walked towards her. Young Miss, it's bad. Young Master has disappeared. Feng, she had disappeared. Yiqing Luo's breathing suddenly turned heavy. The expression on her face turned extremely cold at this moment. Chapter 48:58. What happened? Yiqing Luo's voice was cold. Granny Phoenix's eyes reddened. I don't know. Feng Bei kept looking at young Master. Just now, in the blink of an eye, young Master disappeared. Feng Bei was the maid who kept Feng Shi company and made sure she didn't run around. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers clenched tightly. What's the exact situation? Let her come over and explain it to me clearly. Soon, Feng Bei was brought up. Feng Bei described the situation just now in a concise and comprehensive manner, but every single sentence was important. Feng Shi was happy today. It was also rare for him to be willing to play around in front of so many guests, as lively and cheerful as someone his age should be. Hence, Feng Bei let Feng Shi be. Feng Bei himself was happy to see young Master so happy. So he followed him. The other young masters and young ladies came to invite Feng Shi to play together. Feng Shi was a little scared at first, but she was obviously eager to play with those kids. Feng Bei said a few words of encouragement. Feng Shi had shut herself away for a long time and didn't have the courage. And because the atmosphere there was extremely lively, and he was alone, so his mood also became low. He sat on the grass and stared blankly. Feng Bei tried to persuade her, but Feng Shi didn't respond. He decided to take Feng Shi to look for Yiqing Luo. Only this Miss Feng could make the young master reveal a smile again. Feng Bei was about to take them away. A cute young lady walked towards them with a stack of pastries in her hands. She stretched out her fair and tender hand to Feng Shi passionately. His daughter was very pretty. She seemed to be able to melt ice when she smiled. Perhaps the little Missy's smile was too warm. Or maybe Feng Shi had been lonely for too long. Slowly, he put his hand into the young lady's hand. She said, I'll take you with me to play with them. Then she pulled Feng Shi towards the guests at the banquet. A kid, another cute and well-behaved kid, and a kid who took the initiative to care about her young master and give him warmth. Feng Bei naturally wasn't on guard. He followed the two kids who were holding hands and walked over. Just when they reached the banquet, someone stood up and bumped into Feng Bei. It was this collision that caused the heavenly palace to tremble. When Feng Bei looked up again, the young lady and young master disappeared from his sight. Yiqing Luo listened quietly. Under the scorching sun, her long and narrow eyes flickered with a gloomy coldness. Deep in her charming eyes, a cold light slowly rippled. Which family does that little girl belong to? She asked in a cold voice. Immediately, a Feng family guard brought a couple over. Beside the couple was a little girl who was so scared that her eyes were blurred with tears. The little girl's eyes were filled with tears, and she was holding a sparkling and translucent jade stone in her hand that was flickering with a dazzling light. Just one look, and Yiqing Luo could tell that the Yinshi was floating above the jade stone. In his heart, he had a rough idea of what was going on. Sure enough, as he listened to the couple and the little girl's statement, it was almost the same as what Yiqing Luo had guessed. There was no other way, but the little girl could not resist the temptation of the shiny jade. She listened to the words of the person who gave her the jade. Help me take Feng Shi to the designated location. Children were the easiest to make people let their guard down. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness as she stared at the little girl. Do you remember what that person looks like? The little girl was so scared that she sniffled. She was scared but dared not to cry. Yes, remember. Chapter 48:59. The children of the aristocrats were all trained by the family from the time they could remember. Although they were afraid of Yiqing Luo's questioning, their minds were still clear. Young Miss replied in a trembling voice, That one just now. Sister Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold, but her pink lips were frivolous. Jiang Hongmei, that smile. It was extremely cold, as if it contained a murderous aura. When Yiqing Luo said the three words Jiang Hongmei, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang were so shocked that they immediately stood up. Miss Feng, how could it be Hongmei? She was reprimanded by us just now and is reflecting on her mistakes. It's absolutely impossible for her to kidnap young Master Feng Shi. There were several aristocrats with the surname Jiang here. Sis, she doesn't necessarily represent Jiang Hongmei. The young lady's words shattered his fantasy. It's that sister, the sister who bullied Sister Feng just now. Nonsense. The Jiang couple stared at young Miss. At such a young age, you know how to talk nonsense and slander Hongmei. Patriarch Jiang. Young Miss's parents immediately blocked in front of her indignantly. Whether it's slander or not, you know it clearly in your heart. What do I know? Patriarch Jiang's face sunk as he sneered. Don't tell me that the Luo family kidnapped young Master Feng to make use of the little conflict between Hongmei and Miss Feng to slander Hongmei. He seemed to have seen through the other party's plot as he laughed loudly. What a good move you made. You even used your own daughter. Both sides were ready to fight. They were almost about to fight each other. What a joke. Who was willing to implicate themselves in this matter? No one was willing to admit it. The two of them were arguing with each other, which made Yiqing Luo's expression even colder. The aura around them became extremely terrifying. Shut up. Her tone was already full of impatience. I'm not interested in listening to your argument. If anything happens to Feng, she paused and suddenly looked up. Her long and narrow eyes were filled with a cold glint, like a sharp blade, as if it could scrape everyone's heart. It was so cold. It was suffocating. Feng Qing Luo, will represent the Feng family to bury the both of your families. Her words were cold, and her beautiful face, which looked like it was covered by ice, was filled with a biting cold, killing intent. The young lady's words were sonorous and forceful, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. They suddenly felt their hearts skip a beat. The two aristocratic patriarchs who were arguing endlessly looked at Yiqing Luo with an ugly expression. Patriarch Jiang clenched his fists. He only felt that this girl, relying on her identity as a miss of the Feng family, really thought that she was someone important. She was just an adopted daughter who wasn't loved by the acting god emperor. To represent the Feng family. To indulge in fantasy, that was what the Jiang clan lord thought. On the other side, the girl's cold sneer had reached their ears. Whether I can represent the Feng family, you can try. He threw down this sentence. The girl fixed her gaze on the young lady. Which direction did Jiang Hongmei take Feng Shi in? The young mistress pointed out the direction subconsciously. In the next instant, the young girl's figure had already disappeared from everyone's sight. There was an uproar at the banquet. The Jiang and Luo family's patriarchs stared darkly at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left, thinking of the young lady's arrogant and unscrupulous words to threaten them. They only felt that the face of the aristocratic family had been thrown away at this moment. The end of this chapter wastes 7th miss. Overlord, please be gentler. Chapter 4860. Then, he looked at Feng Family Master. Feng Family Master, it's a good thing that Miss Feng could become your granddaughter, but Miss Feng is young and impetuous. She always talks about the Feng family. If someone catches this, I'm afraid it will be bad for the Feng family's reputation. When the solemn and cold old man heard this, his eyes were filled with a strong sense of dignity, and he was not angry. His cold eyes looked at the two family heads in front of him. Every word he said was bone-chilling. This family head's Xiao Luo. If this family head didn't dote on her, would she let you people bully her? She can take the initiative to use the Feng family as a backer and is willing to use the power of the Feng family. I'm even happier. As for the so-called weakness, do I look like I am afraid of losing the reputation of the Feng family? The world was vast. Without the treasures, little Luo was in a good mood. Besides, Feng Clan Master's eyes turned sharp, and he waved his sleeve. Boundless spiritual energy gushed out. He attacked without any warning. Before the two patriarchs could react, he was sent flying by Patriarch Feng's attack. He fell heavily onto the banquet table in front of him. The Feng clan master's eyes were full of anger, and he was very dignified. If anything happens to Feng Shi, neither of you can escape. Yi Qing Luo hurriedly chased after him. If it was Jiang Hongmei who took him away, they shouldn't have left the Feng family's courtyard yet. Jiang Hongmei was already working with the people from the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. As long as the people from the Dark Palace were still in the Feng family courtyard, she could sense his aura. As Yi Qing Luo chased ahead, she released her sense of perception. He quickly scanned his surroundings. It was because of her that the people of Dark Nether Palace sneaked into the Feng family. It was also because of her that Feng Shi had been taken away by the people from the Palace of Darkness. She would never, ever let Feng Shi come to any harm because of her. Feng Shi was held under Hongmei's armpit, and they sped toward the back door of the courtyard of the Feng mansion at a high speed. The woman's usually delicate and cold face was now twisted crazily. His eyes were filled with deep hatred. Didn't Feng Qing Luo care a lot about this little dumpling? She used this little dumpling to lure Feng Qing Luo out. When Feng Qing Luo rushed over, he tortured and killed Feng Shi right in front of Feng Qing Luo. Look at her always pretending to be aloof. How long will it last? The guy did. As long as she took Feng Shi out of the Feng family's residence, she would be able to obtain the chance to surpass Feng Qing Luo. To be able to trample Feng Qing Luo under her feet. Hongmei's eyes were filled with madness. Woo woo woo. Xiao Tuanzi's soft, sobbing voice rang out. Her small hand reached out to grab Hongmei's waist. What are you doing? Hongmei cursed. Xiao Tuanzi's eyes were misty with tears. I missed on Hongmei. You're not allowed to go. You scared me. Xiao Tuanzi felt wronged. I almost peed my pants. Hongmei grabbed Xiao Tuanzi's rubbing hand and said, You're not allowed to pee. If you move again, I'll chop off your limbs. Xiao Tuanzi was frightened. She tried to hold back her tears as her little body trembled. Everyone quietened down. Hongmei prepared to continue on her journey. He heard Xiao Tuanzi's small voice saying, I can't hold it in anymore. I want to pee on myself. Hongmei, piss on her, piss on her. About the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn later. Xiao Tuanzi stood in the forest and peed. Hongmei turned to the side and looked ahead, suppressing her anger as she waited for Little Dumpling. It took a long time, until Hongmei was full of impatience. Are you done? The sound of water was still there, but there was no one's voice. At the end of this chapter, Wastrel's 7th miss. Overlord, please be gentle. Chapter 48:61. Hongmei realized something was wrong. She immediately turned around and looked in Feng Shi's direction. However, the place where Feng Shi was just now was no longer where the little figure was. The sound of falling into the water was made by Feng Shi with the water tank nearby. That brat! How dare he trick her? Hongmei's face darkened. None of the Feng family members were good. Even this 5-year-old child. He was so disgusting that she wanted to strangle him. Hongmei gritted his teeth. He suddenly looked behind a straw shed not far from the water tank. Vaguely, he heard the sound of withered grass being stepped on. Hongmei's eyes lit up, and he lunged at her with a grim smile. Feng Shi, you'd better not let me catch you. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. He had been discovered. Feng Shi curled up in the haystack of the straw shed. The smelly and yellow withered grass covered Xiao Tuanzi's small body tightly. He was even breathing carefully, but Hongmei had still found him. Feng Shi heard the woman's footsteps getting closer and closer. His heart was beating so fast that he was about to faint. After all, he was just a little girl who had never been stimulated like this. His slightly red eyes were full of confusion and helplessness. The footsteps were getting closer and closer to the haystack. It seemed to have locked onto him. It stopped right in front of him. The atmosphere was very depressing. It had only been a moment, but Feng Shi felt that it had been a long time. The hand reached toward the haystack. Feng Shi hugged himself tightly. He had made up his mind. Once the haystack was pulled away, he would attack with all his strength. Even if he couldn't hurt Hongmei, he could create a fluctuation of qi to attract the fairy sister and grandpa. The haystack was pulled away. The light shone on Feng Shi again. Feng, she cried out in surprise. She gathered the cultivation that she had just cultivated and launched an attack forward. Pah! The person in front of her just raised her finger slightly and flicked it in the air. Feng Shi's dark light scattered in the air. "CC." The girl's gentle and pleasant voice came to his ears. A pair of soft hands bent down and pulled Feng Shi into an embrace. Feng Shi seemed to be struck dumb as she stared blankly at this. He was like a god descending from the heavens. The pair of warm hands was like the scorching sun, calming his entire body and mind. "Sorry, I'm late." The girl gently touched Feng Shi's cheek with her fingertips. Xiao Tuanzi's face turned cold. His body was drenched in cold sweat. It was obvious that he was quite frightened just now. A cold glint flashed past Yi Qing Luo's eyes. He raised his gaze and focused on Hongmei, who was standing at the back of the straw hut, her eyes filled with shock. The moment Yi Qing Luo's vision touched the red plum blossom, Hongmei seemed to be greatly agitated as he roared hoarsely. "You! How did you find this place? How is this possible?" She had clearly avoided everyone's eyes and ears. She quietly found the most remote path and went to the backyard to leave the Feng family's courtyard. How did Yi Qing Luo know that she was here with Feng Shi? And it was so accurate. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled up coldly. The coldness in her eyes was like a sharp blade. "There's a very unpleasant smell on you." Hongmei's heart skipped a beat. She only felt that the girl's eyes seemed to penetrate her body and directly into her soul. Chapter 4862. No, to be more accurate, Yi Qing Luo was looking at another person through her eyes. Yi Qing Luo was communicating with another person through her eyes. What was it? What on earth was Yi Qing Luo looking at? Hongmei's heart was fluttering. She had an extremely uneasy premonition. She stared deadly at Yi Qing Luo as her fingers clenched tightly. Yi Qing Luo hugged Feng Shi with one hand as her gaze met Hongmei's gaze quietly. Her pink lips curled up eerily. "Have you thought of the consequences for touching my people?" Hongmei retreated 2 steps as her eyes were filled with vigilance. Yi Qing Luo scoffed softly. Her fingertips moved. A feather fan, which was like a raging flame, appeared from her palm. Profound energy shot out from the sky. The battle was about to start. Hongmei wasn't weak, but against the battle-experienced Phoenix Manor and the raging Yi Qing Luo, she wasn't Yi Qing Luo's opponent. Just a moment later, Hongmei was stepped on the ground. Looking at Feng Shi's icy cold hand, she still hadn't calmed down. Yi Qing Luo's move was to beat her to death, until Hongmei couldn't take care of herself. Just at this moment, the entire secluded backyard fell. Suddenly, a violent hurricane rose up. Like a Inshi weaved a huge net, enveloping the entire space. Shortly after, a person shrouded in a black robe descended from the sky. That man's black robe was dragged on the ground. He took a look. It was a man. "Useless trash. I asked you to bring a child to look for me, but you can't even do such a small thing." The moment the black robe man opened his mouth, it was as though his surroundings were plated with a layer of sinister cold air. The strong wind blew his black robe, making a loud, fluttering sound. Hongmei's expression changed slightly when she saw that man, as though she was afraid, as though she was unwilling, but she was filled with malevolence and arrogance. Why did it disappear in an instant? Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed as she sized up the black robe man. She raised her brows casually. "Who are you?" "People from a secluded palace. Everyone calls me Master Yin." The black robe man didn't intend to hide, because the next sentence, he was extremely arrogant. He said, "Remember this, the name that kills you." Yi Qing Luo gave a light laugh. "There are quite a number of people in secluded darkness palace who like to be arrogant in front of me, but now, the grass on their graves is already 10 feet tall." She tilted her head and stroked Feng Shi's head with her small hand to comfort her. At the same time, she looked at the black-robed man calmly and said, "I think you'll be one of those graves. I can give it a try." The black-robed man revealed his teeth and smiled confidently. The black-robed man in front of him, the aura surrounding him was indeed extremely powerful and majestic. when that kind of terrifying power exploded outwards. Fengshi did not look too good. His face was strangely pale. Yiqing Luo injected profound energy into Fengshi's body to prevent her from suffocating from the pressure. This person from the Dark Palace. She wanted to try it out. However, Fengshi was present at the moment. She couldn't go all out and fight with the black-robed man. Most importantly, with her understanding of the Palace of Gloomy Shadows. The appearance of this black-robed man. It must be accompanied by some kind of conspiracy. Otherwise, it was impossible for the people from the Palace of Gloomy Shadows to appear, ever since she came to the God Realm. But the Palace of Gloomy Shadows remained silent without any movement. When she was in the lower realm, the matter of being brought to the God Realm by the Divine Guard Squad, it caused a huge uproar. How could the people from the Palace of Gloomy Shadows not know about it?